So goddamn.
Hold on. Is that better?
Yeah. What's the nice salamander on the background?
Oh, that's actually Lex's. Dude, everything here is Lex's.
I couldn't tell the signatures on the paintings or anything.
Yeah, that's all her.
Put my beanie on. So, you just you want to go home.
So let's
get this taken care of. Fucking photos. That's all
I'm depressed.
I gotta have my water facing away. No logo. No brand. No
brands.
No paid ads.
This was brought to you by Rain.
Just staring directly at the camera.
Rain with a bang hat on.
I could be confused. Do you like Ford?
I don't. They're fucking dumb.
It's like, but if they pay me enough money, I'll say whatever they want me to say.
All right. Let's see how this goes.
That's a better angle for me. It's all you see is stomach on the other one. Just do car.
Hey, I guess that's okay.
I mean, it's the most unflattering angle of just equipment. Could you do like
maybe like right here?
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know. That'd be worse for seeing either of us though. It's kind of splitting the gap.
Fair enough.
Ooh, look at me, I'm fancy with my champagne.
Yeah, it actually says champagne. Actual champagne
in France.
This will do. I don't care about the unflattering bit.
Well, I think it's very easy to just ignore once you get used to it. I mean, that angle's better for equipment and you. It's just not for. You know what? Let's actually just do us both a favor and just get more right. Eric. For the visuals, definitely the better angle.
Okay, all right. So I guess this works. And if I turn inward like this,
we can see that. There's not a way that you could get like just this for me and just make me a head without my fat body, but that's gonna happen.
You think so?
Nice. It's the least flattering angle, like the down low facing up angle, and then the no back chair that you're all gunched over.
What if you turn slightly this way?
Do one of those? That might help. I just need to like not. Oh, that's a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't look like I'm 400 pounds now. I look like I'm like 320. That's a huge upgrade.
Yeah, the camera adds a few pounds, so.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to.
No.
Add that many.
That's yeah. I'm trying to look swole.
You got to do the forward shoulder thing, right? And then that makes me look like the fucking Magic the Gathering butt crack guy. just like really trying the best, but not landing at all.
What if we tilt the screen up a little bit?
I think that it's not really going to help ever. Hi.
All right. I guess that works.
I mean, I think that's makes it seem like I'm looking more at the cameras rather than looking at you, which is probably better. I don't know what your goal is there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't have a goal.
Oh, okay. Just is that like in life or?
Yeah, basically. I'm just like
the habit that you went to click video and you immediately. There was no pause at all in that. I don't know if you even noticed that you did that.
No, not even a little bit.
It's so subconscious.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, this is the program that we're going to record in. This is called Logic. So this is my levels.
Okay, and then I have to look for mine. Am I the underneath?
Yeah, why
is it so much lower?
Why is it so much lower?
Am I not close enough? I feel like I'm.
I felt like every time I was testing this out, your levels were way fucking higher. And I was like, okay, I'll err on the side of the guess. That makes sense. Yeah.
No, maybe I just have like the wrong vocal cadence.
Maybe. And I was just yelling into it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nathan. How are my levels doing?
So like, even doing that, I barely got orange, and yours was like red.
Yeah.
So even if I'm way projecting.
Fair enough.
What if I get way up into
way low.
Like, don't just make it sound bad.
Well, if you think it sounds bad enough, I can actually turn on auto-tune.
Hello.
Hi.
Wait, does that immediately turn on? That was no work at all.
Check it out. Yo.
I don't know if what's my regular talking pitch? A, apparently?
I think it's A flat.
Is that what? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm not musically inclined.
Or maybe you're A minor. Yeah. See, it doesn't. You can't hear it on yours, but on mine, I sounded like T-Pain. I mean, all right. It's actually not that good. I don't know if I have to mess with something.
I think usually the point of auto-tune is that you manually set what you want it to end up at. So just saying like flatten or normalize seems like the wrong way to do it.
Fair enough.
Welcome to 103 The Buzz.
The Buzz.
That's the only time in our entire life where my voice has been lower than yours. And it just sounds like that to me. I have no idea if it actually does to the audio.
Oh, no, we're like 40%. All right.
I don't know what that means.
Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is prior to anything.
This is
so
episode 1 setup. We're all learning together. And apparently my levels are really low. Is there like a setting over here that I can turn this up? Is that what this was? Maybe?
That's
my own sound.
You can, but let's see. So now it's on the microphone if you want to turn it up.
Oh yeah, there we go. I have my levels. Because I hear myself a lot better in my headset.
Does that sound better?
It's up to you. You're the one with the actual audio.
So speak as loud as you think that you're going to speak.
I mean, this is usually my default volume and tone right here. So if that's too low, then you're fine.
No, actually, so like talk at the same time that I'm talking.
Okay. If we
talk at once, yeah,
we can hear both at the same time.
I think yes.
See, I only hear myself, so this is all you.
And I can hear both of us.
But just like socially, you're dominating me.
You think so?
I have no idea. I'm just assuming.
Not really.
Because you're the host, and I'm just a dude.
I'm the host.
You're the most. I knew you. I saw the smile start, and I'm like, he's gonna do it.
A toast.
That's gross.
It's kind of a slant rhyme.
We don't want to turn this into a roast.
Yeah.
There we go. I saved it. Got it back.
This man loves to boast.
I could hear that perfectly. Not sponsored. 300 milligrams of caffeine. Don't drink 4 a day. You can prove what it does to you.
That's right. If you want to be an incompetent employee like I am.
Hey, you left on your own volition. That's better than a lot of people do.
Fair enough.
Did you ever officially get written up, though?
No, never.
See? Then there you go. Most competent employee. No proof otherwise.
Do people get written up at Dino Lab? So.
Yeah. Tony did.
Oh, that's true.
And so did Easton. Easton did before he quit. I guess I'm not supposed to say other people's names, am I?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah.
They're listening, okay?
The dishwasher did, and the guy who quit the same day as me did, so that we know who we're talking about, but no one else does.
I guess I didn't keep up with all of that. Like, I don't exactly know.
It's usually, especially like nowadays, writing up is I'm not allowed to fire you, and I'm extremely unhappy with you. Sort of. The write-up isn't the late 90s, like, oops, you did a fucky wucky, here's a write-up. It's not that.
Yikes. Yeah, I'm trying to think, I guess we just kind of bled into the podcast there. Here we are.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of Labdominals.
Am I supposed to introduce myself? Or is that your thing?
That's a good point, yeah. I guess we're just starting it off. So, episode 1, I'm here with Nathan Suthoff. Nathan, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm Eric's current coworker and worked with him at his last job. I am 30, so old man of the friend group.
Shit.
Yeah, take that for 2 years from now. What was it? No, I was the second oldest one yesterday at dinner. So I'm not the old one.
Nah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Makes me feel a little better.
You're getting up there. So
thanks. I appreciate that every morning when I wake up.
I only say that as somebody who's trending toward 30.
If you did the opposite, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
As somebody constantly getting younger, I make fun of him constantly.
Fair enough. I'm Benjamin Button here. Okay, so this hat is not going to work.
You don't want more branding?
I think it's just because I can't see you.
Oh, you're brimming and talking just at the microphone?
Yeah. So for those of you listening, I'm wearing a Bang hat right now, and it looks pretty fucking cool. Actually, I love this fucking thing. I got this at a event in where was I?
That's an interesting part of the country.
I think it was right. I think it was Orlando. Yeah, I think we were at some sort of like bodybuilding convention.
I was gonna guess. I can imagine Bang trying to like advertise themselves as a healthy, show up to bodybuilding and sports science events and be like, yeah, come drink aspartame and caffeine. It's good for you.
How dare you? This has coenzyme Q10.
That's not Bang.
Yeah,
that's an entirely different drink.
No, this is exactly what a Bang is, but like not a Bang.
See, the whole point of those that I drink now, for everybody on the audio, it's a Rain Energy that Eric introduced me to, 3 years ago?
It's so good. Yeah, I guess so. I guess it must have been 2 years ago at this point, but it seems like 3.
Yeah, COVID time dilation.
Yeah, a little bit.
I guess it was 2 years ago, but I had never heard of them. They're 300 milligrams of caffeine in an energy drink, which is insane.
And you just get absolutely dialed in with this.
Well, unless you're in the peak of your caffeine consumption, and then you drink, what was it, one in the car on the way to work, open one at work, and then have one at lunch?
That's exactly it. Yeah, that was my setup. So
that's insane. That is almost a gram of caffeine.
Almost a gram of caffeine. It was way too much. I was way too jittery, and
for some reason you weren't sleeping very well. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, no, I don't know why. I think I was depressed.
That's the only thing I can attribute it to.
Yeah, it was. And this is actually probably not the best thing to drink before a isolation tank.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, because I had a little bit of the jitters when I had one the second time we went.
Okay. Yeah,
I could kind of feel my heart racing a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, this is a problem."
Mm.
But then I have a problem if I don't eat and don't drink anything for the isolation tanks, I fall asleep every time. Like half the time, I'm just so comfortable, and I'm neutral buoyant, and it's warm, and there's that little casual music playing,
right.
And I'm like, man, this is nice. And then the alarms are going off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally fell asleep. But it's a super restful, usually heavy dream sleep, and I'm fine with that. But it's man, Eric just paid a lot of money for me to fall asleep. I feel bad about this now.
Yeah, but it was such a good nap.
Yeah, the first time we went, I didn't sleep at all. That was the one where I had semi-lucid dreamings.
Okay.
And then the second time, the first one I slept a little because I was in that weird semi-lucid dreaming state where I was between in and out.
Yeah.
And then the second time was the caffeine time. I didn't sleep at all that time. Then the third time, I kept falling asleep and waking up. And I would wake up and stretch, which is how I knew I fell asleep. That I would stretch all the way up in the entire tank and hit the walls, fuck, bounce around, and then be oh, that was weird, and then I fall back asleep again.
Oh god.
Yeah. So that one I remember, I definitely fell asleep more than once. That was also the most restful one that I had for sure. I walked out very peaceful, and that was the one with Hunter. Actually, I remember that now.
See, I keep forgetting that you've been with me several times.
I think it's been 5 now.
Has it been 5 times?
4 or 5.
It can't be.
I know it's been 4 because I did the first time when I was nervous and didn't want to say it up. And then the caffeine time that I went with just me and you, and then Hunter, and then the bad trip.
Dude, what the fuck?
So that's been 4 times.
I swear to God, in my memory, we went once, and Hunter was there.
No, I just remember that one because I was kind of mean to him, and I felt bad about that one afterwards.
It was kind of funny though.
I mean, I don't know where that came from, but. I felt bad about it.
I feel with your friends, especially if you're really good friends with someone, you are kind of mean to them.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, you have to be.
I feel we're all connected. That's gay.
As one.
Yeah, and I
gay.
It's I went for the community the gift gay, and I was didn't land it at all, and I was man, now I just seem like I'm. Now I just seem like I'm a bigot, and that it's just worse. And I'm I've never used that as an insult, and then I did, and then it didn't land. So now I don't want to defend myself.
And it was just an audience of
the one employee and him,
the one very Asian employee at the faux. It was just I'm done with them.
Yeah,
these guys.
It's they're not getting any more food. They're
right.
staying over there. But yeah, so that was the third time though, and then I went the other time with the lights, and I could hear people talking. So the last time I went was the time where I didn't have a good time.
Jeez.
And then your tank didn't turn off.
Yeah, it didn't.
They thought you fell asleep.
So my tank malfunctioned. Yeah, so this has always kind of been a fear of mine, where
but now it's happened, so now you're not afraid of it anymore, right? Like
now I know.
Worst case scenario is not that bad.
Exactly. But I mean, going in, I was always afraid. Like, okay, so if it doesn't turn off, what happens? Do they just let me sit there?
I could trapped in here like a sarcophagi and lock you in and take you into a warehouse somewhere.
The next person like tries to unlock the door and they can't get in.
It's a desiccated body from all the salt.
I have become a mummy.
Freely.
Yeah.
Now, instead, what happens is they make passive-aggressive comments about where's your friend at out front while you wait for them. Assuming that you're taking like a 25-minute shower, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's literally your first time, and you're like, I have fucking no idea. Like,
I don't know what to do. I mean, then they just go and knock and say, "Are you good?" And you go, "Oh." She said too that she went and knocked and then heard splashing of you like trying to get out of the tank really fast.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure if you hear no sound at all and then loud knocking, just immediate panic response would be probably natural. Yeah.
I'm tripping.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm dying. Fight or flight response goes immediately.
I'm drowning. Help!
It's 6 inches of water.
Can you imagine the fucking embarrassment that you must feel?
The first guy to drown in a 6-inch isolation.
Yeah.
Which added buoyancy because of the salt, so you'd have to like push your own head down to try to drown.
Honestly, do they have to know CPR to work there?
I'd hope not.
Yeah.
I would really. It's probably more like a spa than anything aqua related.
I would think so. Yeah, so that would make sense.
But there's the one guy who's like, oh yeah, Jimmy's the CPR guy. Like he's our guy. He works on Saturdays. Like that's probably a thing that happens.
Yeah, and he's kind of creepy with it.
He's like, I can do all the CPR.
He like licks his lips before
way too much.
Yeah, like he's excited to give you CPR.
How would you say that? What's your diet like? No, dude, Jimmy, don't go there.
Stop.
No, I want to eat a lot of garlic just to make this really unpleasant for you. Well, you're not supposed to do rescue breaths anymore for CPR at all.
What is that?
The rescue breath is the mouth to mouth.
Okay.
Mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
You don't do that at all anymore. For
really?
CPR. You just do chest compressions. Now, I don't think my CPR card's valid. I think I haven't. What year is it? 2022.
Are you certified, sir?
Well, as far as I'm aware, the way that the Good Samaritan laws work is there's like a hierarchy of who's supposed to give CPR, and it's like
EMT.
EMT emergency professionals. Like if there's an EMT giving somebody CPR, I can't like come through and be like, "Excuse me, I am CPR trained," and then shove them off and give CPR. Like I go to jail for that. But if
is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah, it's me, bitches. Yeah, like that's not gonna land. But if there's no one there, then you're supposed to ask if anybody is like. You're supposed to ask or no if anybody there is currently trained in CPR and has a valid license.
Okay.
And then if you're like, is anybody here know CPR? Nobody says anything. And if I ask that, and then somebody's like, is CPR trained and doesn't step up, the burden of knowledge is off of me. I've asked. There's no way I can know that guy's CPR trained.
Fair enough.
And then I can give CPR as somebody who was trained in the past. And I don't know if that's written in the law or if that's just, I just forgot when there's previous cases that set the precedent.
Right.
Precedent. I don't know if that's precedent or or if it's written in the actual law. But then after that, if I show up and give CPR, I would be protected by Good Samaritan laws.
Interesting.
So this is all what was told to me the last time I updated my card, which has been a long time ago. So maybe it's back to rescue breaths, but you weren't supposed to give any anymore. It's just the chest compressions to the beat of Staying Alive.
Okay.
Impossible to
forget. I was afraid. I was satisfied.
You're just sitting there, like singing along, and they're like, "She's dying."
You missay the lyrics to a song that's not even
the right song.
Yeah.
You're singing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I'm just a poor boy. Like all of the pushes. And they're like, sir, you need to step away. And I'm like, oh, the EMTs are here. You're welcome. I saved her. It's like, no, you didn't. You actually hindered exclusively. Well, and I guess the thought is the two reasons you don't do rescue breaths anymore is that they're really hard to do right. You have to like tilt the chin up all the way.
Okay.
And even like a perfectly done, perfectly sealed rescue breath doesn't add a ton of oxygen to the lungs. And this is all hearsay from my training from like 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago now.
That would make sense. I mean,
and then you have so many more issues with like, why are maybe they had a poison or something. And that's why they're nauseous. And now you've introduced that to your bloodstream. Or maybe one of you has a communicable disease and not both of you do. So it introduces so many more vectors that are problems than just for not that big of a payoff, where the biggest issue with CPR is keeping the oxygenated blood that's currently in there, because it doesn't get consumed super quickly. People go without air for like 25 minutes at some points. That'd be perfectly fine.
And how much oxygen is in a breath?
Yeah, exactly. Exhale. It's mostly not nitrogen anyway. So
yeah, it's mostly nitrogen, and it's a lot of CO2.
Yeah. So I think that's the point too, is that it's actually anytime you're talking about holding breath, CO2 buildup is what gets you faster than oxygen deprivation.
Oh, interesting.
So people who do like their long, because I used to do like swim team and stuff, I would actually be easier if I'm doing my like long 15-meter no breathers, like halfway through to exhale. And I could make it further doing that than I could holding my breath the whole way. Because you exhale the CO2 that's starting to become a problem, and then you get an extra solid couple of seconds out of it. Yeah, it helps more than just breathing in.
Right.
And I guess the rescue breaths you do push a lot of the CO2 out, so that's not as big of an issue anymore. Or not the rescue breaths, the chest compressions you do.
Doesn't the buildup of CO2 also trigger the next breath?
Yeah, that's when you feel the I need to take a breath right now. Yeah. I think that's CO2. That's not oxygen. So you can actually, if you hold your breath, and if you go, want to try it, you can hold your breath, and as soon as you feel that my lungs are burning, I need to take enough breath, breathe out slowly, and you'll feel like a solid 10-15 seconds minimum of that effect going away. Now, that only gets the CO2 out of your lungs, doesn't get the CO2 out of your bloodstream, so that effect won't go away permanently. Obviously, you can't just be like, I breathed out, so now I cannot breathe ever again. No, that's not how that works. It's still going to be there, but it does buy you some time.
Man, what if we're just addicted to breathing?
It's just the entire society of like the intergalactic market. It's just like, look at those oxygen fiends. They can't go 20 seconds without it. Everywhere else is just like
addicted.
Just osmosing light energy, and they're like weirdos, and we're like, I need it the whole time.
Yeah, the buildup of CO2 and the triggering of your next breath is just withdrawals.
Just 20-second withdrawal fix.
Yeah.
So the really cool people can go like 3 minutes, but most people can't.
What if we just have dead air?
Just for 3 minutes. Everybody hold your breath.
While we stare at each other and hold our breath.
I think that would be called, what's the word? Bad entertainment.
I think it would, yeah. I think it really would.
Somebody would come and be like, I think my headset just died. I don't know what's happening here.
Literally, this thing is called Labdominals, and they haven't spoken about science.
There was like some science adjacent stuff.
That's a good thing. Yeah, that's the point of it, right?
Yeah, right. Like nobody's going to sit here and be like, all right, on chapter 246 of Melbrum's organic textbook, we're going to learn about osmosis. Like nobody is. You know what's? None of that was anything I could think of, but it all sounded reasonable.
Honestly, you convinced me.
Yeah, right? Like you thought I had that written down prepared. No, I just pulled it up.
Like honestly, I almost looked over at my organic chemistry text.
Who's my author? Oh, I blocked the name of that one for PTSD reasons.
It's like Wiley or something.
Yeah, that's
Campbell.
I think mine was Wiley.
Okay.
Maybe that was the publisher. What was yours? You got it behind you, don't you? You got a whole stack
of covered up, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of books over there.
By the way, I remember it was $385.
Yikes.
That was mine. So
ew.
Yeah. And I had a lab key that I had to use too.
A lab key.
Oh no, that wasn't organic. That was Chem 2.
I can see
organic didn't have a I used a loose leaf one for organic, and it was still like way too much money. And it was to the point to where I could have like downloaded a PDF and printed it, and I would have paid more for like the paper and ink than it was to like get the book anyway. I think the loose leaf book was like $120. It was way cheaper. I think the hardback one was like $400.
Jesus.
Which I don't know if I ever told you the story about me almost getting kicked out of the school library.
No. What
happened? Or the school bookstore, rather. On my freshman year, I was, on scholarship and had all the extra money and everything. And it's like, here's my book list. It's 12 books. And I have to say, well, I had to buy all these, which is my first mistake.
Obviously.
And I spent like $1,600 or $1,700 on books.
Okay.
And including the lab manuals you actually need. And then your like first edition hardback paper sealed book you'd never even open. Mm-hmm. And they used to do book buyback day.
Okay.
And you'd go in there and they'd say, they have all the registers open because they'd never do that at any other point. And they have all the employees there who are knowledgeable on it. And I went to go give them one of those unsealed, it's like a math book.
Okay.
It's like a cup, like $400, hardback, unsealed, slid in the plastic wrapper with the label that I got it from them on.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to give this back for like book buyback. Can I get a refund on it? Or like, is it just going to be buyback? And they go, oh no, this is the last year they're using this book. And this was the end of the fall semester. So they still had the spring semester. They still would have sold it.
Yeah.
And they went, we're only using it this year, so we're only going to give you $50 for it.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, it's new.
Yeah.
Like, I could go get a refund on my card with this because it's not used. And they said, no, that's not how it works. Do you want to give it to us? And I said, no, not at all.
No.
And I like finished my book buyback, and then I turned around, and all these people online, and I said, who wants whatever book it was? $200. And some guy was like, yo, I will. And then they were like, you cannot do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And the dude gave me $200 cash, and I gave him the book, and he's like, I'm saving half. And I'm like, I made $150. And they were like, you need to leave. They were so mad at me for doing that.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then like a year and a half later, at the end of the next year, they quit doing book buyback.
Okay.
They just stopped doing it. And I was like, I wonder if I was a contributing factor to that.
Yeah.
I would like to think that there was like 100 of me.
Dude.
Just sitting and I guess that afterwards I talked to some friends. People would basically like scalp and go sit outside the bookstore.
Right.
And then like sell people books and stuff. So I had the same idea that those other people had, but I obviously only did it once, so it wasn't that
fucking agent of change, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people were doing it well before I did it. I was just the only guy stupid enough to do it 4 feet from the employee. As soon as I got done turning around, literally paid them, turned around, and went, "Who wants this?" That's probably the worst way to do that.
That's like super transparent though, because you know everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also you can't stop me. I didn't sign an affidavit saying I can't do that.
You didn't sign a non-compete agreement.
Yeah, exactly. But make my own books. Like, now looking back on it, could I have got more money by not doing that? Probably. I probably could have gone outside and said $300 for this book, and somebody else goes, "Ooh, that's $100 less for me. Neat." And I made $100 more. But in my head, I was like, "That's halfway between what I'm getting," because in my head I'm getting nothing, which was kind of close, and 400. So I'll meet in the middle. Why would I do that? I controlled the product. I could have sold it for $375 and somebody would have bought it.
Jesus.
I just didn't want to have it anymore.
Dude, I'm gonna throw on this.
Your hoodie.
I'm fucking cold, yeah.
I mean, the sun's coming through a little bit. It's not bad.
Yeah, but I usually have that like blocked off.
Oh, you sit in the dark.
Yeah, like all of those. What are those called? The sun blocking shades.
Oh, the blackout curtains.
Yeah, the blackout curtains.
When I worked, you work second, so that's kind of necessary for you. That's the same thing I did. I have blackout curtains in my bedroom. Right. Blackout curtains on the kitchen so that I could come out and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night for me, 11 a.m.
Right.
And not get woken up.
So
I guess that's fair. I shouldn't judge you for that. Sorry. Didn't want.
How dare you?
I mean, my seconds were more overnights than yours are, though. It's like the latest year at work is like 11, right?
Allegedly.
Yeah. Your Honor. Whereas Papa John's closed at 1. Okay. So, I mean, I would be home if it was a good day, too.
The fucking dream.
Yeah, it's miserable. You think that until I don't know what night shift workers do now. With COVID being a thing, like Walmart, it closes at 10. Like restaurants don't stay open overnight anymore. Gas stations are closed at like midnight. Like what do they do? You just have to try to do the awful thing that night shift people do and stay up until the morning and get all your work done and then go to bed late. Right. Because I had coworkers that do that. They would go home and they'd stay up till like 6 or whatever when like banks and stuff started opening. Right. 6 or 7. And then do all their stuff then go to bed at 8. And then sleep till like 4 and then wake up at like 4:30 to go to work at 5.
Yankers.
And they're like, yeah, it's better. I'm just actually all in on the overnights now. I'm night shift, not really second. I'm like, that sounds like it's the worst.
Yeah, that would suck.
And I guess that's what you'd have to do now.
I guess so.
I do not envy that at all.
Yeah, no, and especially because we're diurnal creatures that a lot of our hormones are based on
the sun cycle.
The sun cycle, yeah. So like I've been listening to a guy, Andrew Huberman, and he has a podcast called Huberman Lab. And basically what he talks about is like the sooner you can get sunlight and as much sunlight as you can, the better for activating a lot of your hormone levels. And
I wonder if that's why I had it way easier to intermittent fast like in the summer.
Oh, yeah?
I had no issues at all with my hunger levels and my energy levels and my workouts.
Because you can fucking go outside so much easier.
Yeah, and I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be sunlight, and I wonder if that's controlling the like food hormones. Whereas now it's like I literally never see the sun.
No.
And I'm just like hungry all day.
Right.
Or not hungry all day, which is worse. Because that means I don't get full. Like that was the whole problem that triggered me intermittent fast in the first place.
Right,
so
fair enough.
That makes sense. I never thought about that. I know that happens in like Arctic areas.
Okay. Yeah.
They have to talk about like people who work on the oil pipelines
Yeah.
Like really should have mental health mandated to them because they don't see the sun for like 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And then their turnover is insane. And they're like, well, it's because it's cold. And you're like, yeah, I'm sure that doesn't help. I'm sure the average temperature being 10 degrees is a big detractor. But they're also just depressed for 3 months straight.
I mean, yeah, and that's, that's probably triggered by something, right?
And then they come home and they're like, oh man, I feel way better when I'm home. Obviously, the problem was that job. I mean, probably, but it's not going to help that you were just hormonally depressed for 2.5 months.
Seriously. Now, is there a way that you could artificially set up your environment to simulate the summer season?
They do that. That's all that the UV lamps are.
Yeah.
And like vitamin D lamps is just that.
God, they're expensive though. You ever look into those?
Yeah, I look because I was reading this. It was like a sci-fi novel, and they talked about how that when they're out in like deep space areas, they have to do artificial UV and vitamin D stuff.
Right.
And I was like, is that the stuff they use like in? I know like some places in like Russian hospitals do that, where they like artificially induce sunlight because they don't get any sunlight naturally ever, and then it's the wintertime the person has mental health issues.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if that's like a cheap thing to just like get by $100 lamp off IKEA and then put the right bulb in it and you're good. I looked it up and I was like, nope, it's not. It's definitely chemotherapy expensive. It is a custom made like 4-foot tall UV lamp light that is not any sort of bulb that's made for any sort of fluorescent.
No.
Right? So as soon as I was like looking into it, I went, yeah, that makes sense. I can't believe I thought that'd be cheap.
Yeah. Sucks, man.
And also, if you're like, depressed because you're working nights, you're not going to go spend $400 to maybe not be depressed.
Right.
That's not something that
you're like, why bother?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be fine. I'll just like go to sleep more. And it's like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
This is how we got here.
I don't need to clean my room.
I'll just like get pizza again and then I'll clean it. I mean, if I don't leave the bed, I won't make any more mess.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't find the black mold that's growing on your fucking windowsill.
I feel like that one was a little too personal.
Way too specific.
That was oddly specific.
Yeah, there was black mold in my windowsill.
I think you're supposed to report that to your landlords.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't want to talk to anybody except for my coworkers who I love.
I want to be by myself on my black mold in my dark room.
That's right.
Soundproofed windows.
Exactly. I don't care about the health benefits.
The health benefits of black mold. Like a millennial joke. I get to die faster. Hell yeah.
Right.
That's just a benefit.
That's right.
You know how much rent I'm paying when I'm dead? Zero.
Yeah.
Money.
It's all the downsides of being a millennial and all of the downsides of being a Gen Z.
Yeah,
you're like right on the cusp of both.
There's a term for us, for our generation. I don't remember what it was.
Zillennials.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Man, I hope not.
Zillennials.
Are we closer to Gen X?
No,
we're on the bottom end.
Well, I'm closer than you are.
Fine. 30 years old.
No, like we're right on the cusp though, because I think it starts like 1985.
Okay, so
and then it ends 1995.
Oh, so I'm like dead middle.
Yeah,
I am the millennial.
Okay.
John Millennial.
Yeah, I think you're John Millennial. What's up, man?
Yeah. I'm the guy who can't buy a house and just wants to eat hot chip and lie. That's the
that makes no sense because you have a lot of money.
No, I have money set aside for a down payment on a house. It's not that much money.
I don't. You don't like to brag. You're kind of humble, but for the listeners at home, he has a lot of money. The man is basically a millionaire.
If you take 4 orders of magnitude off of that, it's still like just an overt lie. Nowhere near that. My wife and I are very frugal people. And, like I said, I used to work Papa John's night shift. So I had cash money.
Oh, yeah.
Barely. I think my average income tax was like $6,700 wages on the year. And I was working full time. Like that wasn't just, oh yeah, I only worked 8 hours. I worked 37 hours because if you worked 40, Papa would come in and break your kneecaps. And I would make, I think averaged was like 9, but I definitely saw 6,700 years. And I think 1 year I made like 10. I was, 5 digits, yeah.
Whoa.
So I've definitely had I don't have the money to spend on that mindset.
Oh, yeah.
My wife and I, when we met and got married, did the same thing.
Okay.
And then we're like, hey, we're going to move to St. Louis and buy a house.
Sure.
Except, just kidding. The housing market is going cash offers on unseen properties at like 150% list price.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
No, my generation will not buy a house on that. We can't buy a house on that.
No.
Who has $280,000 cash lying around? people who are buying their second, third homes or selling their first homes at these huge inflated rates to somebody else who's already sold their house. And it's just a circular idea. It's like hermit crabs going from smaller shells to bigger shells in a big line.
Yeah, exactly.
And then nobody else who's not a hermit crab gets to get in there and get a house.
Yeah, and then all of us octopus are just like, chilling.
I guess I'll just pay $400,000 over my life in rent. That's fine.
I'll just blend in with this rock really quick.
Hope nobody notices.
Yeah.
But I guess the loop to the story is that my wife and I pay very cheap rent to live in her parents' basement. So, I mean, that just sounds terrible, like from an outlying perspective. But boy, does it save you money.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And I mean, also, that basement is bigger than any apartment I've ever lived in.
Yeah.
It is a full walkout finished basement with a bathroom and a kitchenette. And so it's not bad. You hear basement, you think like the laundry room in every apartment complex.
Yeah, it's like the concrete walls.
Unfinished, like the one drain that's like definitely raised on the floor always, like in the bottom, and the one bare light bulb.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, I mean, if I didn't have to pay rent to live there, that's pretty, I mean, that's
pretty good.
I could save up some money pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. Just like cobwebs everywhere.
Yeah, there's definitely like a sweet spot. Like we pay a couple $100 in rent, like, which is not free.
Too bad.
But when you think greater metropolitan area, a couple $100 for a big area, that's free.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't happen anywhere else. Nobody else is going, I've got a huge 2-bedroom area for $400. You'd say, oh, who do you know? Like, how do you own the building? Like, that doesn't happen. But there's a sweet spot there where if you get that for a couple $100 and you get bare light basement finished room for $0, there's somewhere in the middle there which is perfect.
Sweet spot.
Yeah, there's like a studio for like $70. Like maybe that's the dream.
Ooh, maybe studio for $70.
With like a carpet on everything and like a single nice toilet and like a full shower.
Exposed too.
Yeah, it had to be at that point.
Gotta be exposed.
It's like one step up from the apartment laundry room. Like,
dude, are we talking LA?
I mean, I kind of feel like I inadvertently just shit on LA there.
This kind of sounds like LA.
And then I have 2 roommates also that share that same area.
2 roommates is bougie.
They're like, I got 2 couches in my studio, so we could split this 3 ways.
Yeah, how much are dividers? You know,
I mean, they're expensive. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they kind of are.
Yeah. But I mean,
we'll throw up some blankets. We'll make it a fort. I mean, come on.
I mean, everybody will love each other. We don't get tired of seeing each other literally every second we're at home in our entire life.
Yeah, and then somebody just stops paying rent.
Yeah, and then we had
squatters' rights, man.
So we had when we lived with my high school friends, and we got an apartment or as a duplex right outside the college.
Okay, yeah.
And we had a coworker of mine who was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have to quit this weekend. Like, I don't have a house anymore." And so I went to go his parents lived like hours away. Because I went to go give him a car and just go live with my parents again.
Right.
And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, they closed my lease and like upped the money and I can't afford it and I couldn't find the new place and everybody wants a down payment. I don't have the money. And it's like, I worked at Papa John's too. Like, I get it.
Right.
I went talk to my friends and I said like, hey, we're in a duplex. We have a garage that's unused. Like, and we got an air mattress. You cool if he just sits there for a while? And they're like, I mean, we've met him. They'd hung out with him a couple times. Like, yeah, he's fine. He can stay there. And I told them, and I'm looking back, glad that I did it.
Yeah.
And I said, you will be here until the 1st. If you want to stay after the 1st, it's $150 a month. And if I don't have the money on the 2nd, we're throwing you out. You are not a tenant here.
Right.
You are just staying here for 30 days.
You have no squatters' rights.
He's like, no, man, I'll be gone in 2 weeks. And I'm like, I don't believe you. So at 31 days, you're paying me. And he was like, yeah, I understand. And then fast forward 4 weeks and he's still there. And I'm like, hey, we need $150 tomorrow. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I know. I'm saving it up. I'm like, okay, I know. I understand.
Right.
Or else you're gone. And then the next morning he came in, he gave us like a big stack of 20s. And it's okay, cool.
Nice.
He did it. And he's like, and I think he had like $120 and he's like, I got to get the other 30 when I work my shift today.
Fair enough.
And I was like, you know what?
There.
You tried. Honestly, the 150 number was kind of arbitrary anyway, so who knows? And
yeah.
Then he went to work, got tipped like $40, came back, gave us $30.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, perfect. And then he stayed there like 3.5 weeks. And they ended up being like, hey, I got a down payment. I saved up money. I'm going to go moving with them. I don't know if he couch surfed and got a place. I'm not sure.
Right.
He's like, hey, really appreciate you guys living here. Like, thanks. And he left. And I'm like, looking back, that could have been so much worse.
Oh, yeah, totally.
He could have because he was going to stay. And luckily we were lying in the sand. No.
Right. You're not going to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to establish this right now. You're not staying with us.
Yeah, you're not a roommate. You're on an air mattress in the garage, which I'm glad to help you with that. I felt a little better. Hey, sorry, coworker, you're homeless now. you can't help everybody, but helping one person feels good. And then it didn't burn me. It didn't turn out to us having to evict him and us getting kicked out of our apartment because they're not validating Tennessee laws. And now I've lived in 4 different apartments in 4 different colleges. Which one am I talking about, landlords? You have no idea. All of them had a garage. I think one of them didn't.
That's how Airbnb started.
Wasn't it like also sued extremely frequently in its infancy?
I think so. Maybe because a lot of people just like trashed people's houses.
And people a lot of rental apartments too, if you didn't own the property, had things like no visitor clauses.
They do, yeah.
And so then suddenly you're having 50 people a year stay in your apartment.
Right.
They would get sued. And then the owner would be like, no, it's not. They're not visitors. They're clients. And then they kind of deflect to Airbnb, which was what I would do. Yeah, 100%. But
in my agreement, there is a no subleasing clause.
I think that's a common thing, though.
Yeah.
Because then all that is them losing out on money.
Right.
Because if you sign a lease and you get grandfathered to a rate, and then every 5 years they're trying to up the average rental rate, you're still locked in at your rate. You can just decide, hey, I'm paying $300 a month on rent, which is not what you're paying at all.
They can't just like raise the rate on you.
Yeah, they can. I know at least in our state, there's limits for what the raises can be. But I think most states do that. But then even if they hit that limit every time, it's very likely the market rate gets faster than that.
Okay.
And so if you sublease, you can just say, I'll pay you the full amount for the rent.
Totally.
And then somebody else will pay me $200 more than that.
Yeah.
To live here.
But Jim's going to come in and he's actually going to live.
Jim's going to live here for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I will make $150 a month for 4 years.
Dude, inflation, man.
It's a thing. I actually knew somebody when I lived with my ex who did that.
Okay.
The person next door or like the next building down be different like every 6 months. And I was just like, man, I can't believe they get those leases signed that quickly. I know he subleases.
Insane.
He subleases. He doesn't live here the whole year. He lives here like 2 months of the year. And I guess he was like training to be a pilot or something. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
But he would only live there for 2 months, so he'd just sublease it for 10 months, and then he'd get new people every couple months.
That's the way to do it. That's the fucking capitalist dream.
I hope I didn't just out him. I don't know if he knew he was doing that.
John.
Yeah. His name was I don't even remember his name. I don't know if it was a he.
No.
I just remember the one person who lived there who was like an ass. It was like they'd come out and check, like they would go check people's parking permits on their cars.
Right.
And then they're like, who even are you? Like, well, I live over here. Like, so-and-so lived over there 2 months ago. Who are you? And then they were gone like a month later.
Dude,
I remember that being
those rains were a mistake.
You jittery?
I'll pee again.
Already?
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I got half a glass of water.
Yeah. I'll be right back. We'll just dead air for a second.
Just stare into the little distance.
Yeah, if you wanna say some shit though.
It's all right. So here's the thing about Eric, this motherfucker.
Tell him about the Holocaust. You have this funny joke.
Nope, I have no jokes about anything that could possibly be construed as bad. Well, now he's left me alone in his house, alone on his podcast. I can do anything I want to do and say anything I want to say. There's 2 memes that immediately come to mind that are things you say over air. And one of them is a guy in a hoodie with sunglasses who like turns around to the camera. And you know what I'm thinking if you know the meme. And then the other one is more politically charged that I don't want to say, but a lot of people do. So just know that he didn't do it. And then if you know the meme, you'll get there. These are the 2 I can think of. So now we'll go dead air.
Yeah, dude, that sucks.
You can like definitely hear the door open perfectly over the mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's like 15 feet away. That's very surprising.
Yeah, that mic doesn't compress the sound as good as the SM7B.
I thought compression was a bad thing. I thought compression was like an artifact. Is audio compression different than like data compression? Because I have no idea. Also, it sounded like I was talking to a wall there. You were nowhere near a mic.
I know, yeah. Yeah, I was just in the distance.
Yeah.
So compression is, I I actually know nothing about this. I've only seen.
It's when the sound waves get closer and the frequency changes.
I mean, only because like I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on this because I just got Logic and this whole setup. So I've been trying to learn as much as I can about audio engineering and compression. I believe what it does is it smushes the audio down to
like normalizing effect.
Yeah,
your peaks are lower and your troughs are higher.
That's exactly it.
Okay, that's better than when I think compression, I think like the old YouTube beams from like 2009. That are like all just 280p and now, and then you still recognize them, and you're like, that's a copy of the 50,000th copy of that image.
Yeah.
That's what I think when I think compression. So data compression is definitely different than audio compression.
That's an interesting phenomenon though, where you take a copy of something and over time it will smear.
Yeah, smear is a good word. It'll
just become like amalgamated into each other.
Is that have you been on the internet enough that you start to notice that, where you like see a meme and you're like, man, that has been copied a lot.
Yeah. It's a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot.
Yeah, and then you get that weird thing that is like definitely new to this culture, where you see the original like high def version of that like original screen grab or whatever, and you're like, damn, that's a piece of history. Like that is the Homer Simpson meme, but that's 1080p. Like that is nice. Like nowhere in the history of humanity has that ever happened. Has somebody gone like, nice, sweet Homer Simpson, bro? Yeah. Like no, that doesn't happen. And now you feel like gratified, and you feel like, yeah, cool. I found this original one. I'm a cool guy now. I'm an internet historian.
You know what that has now become?
I don't know if you say NFTs.
It's NFTs, man.
They're non-fungible tokens.
Non-fungible tokens.
I got to think of some insulting other acronym that could be
non-fucking.
Not for intelligent people, because they took the N off.
Intelligent.
It's the French version.
Yeah.
I remember one of my YouTubers that I watch, like I own them. One of the YouTubers that I watch, had a funny video where it's like how I made $100 million or something. Yeah. And he was just talking normally, and he was scrolling through Twitter, and every time he saw an NFT, he'd right-click, copy, paste it. Yeah. And he like had a little notepad that was how much money he made. And I was like, this, and he never once in the video mentioned the word NFT or said anything.
Right. Yeah.
He was just talking about something else while he did it. And I was like, that is the most tongue-in-cheek way to address that I've ever seen. Because now anybody who's like a militant defender of the form is going to like search NFT, and it's not going to come up. It's going to miss it. Totally. But everybody who's watching that knows the stance.
They know.
And there's no way it's anything but money laundering, right? Like that.
I mean, okay, so
as somebody who's huge into crypto, like I don't own a lot, I don't have any, but the
millions. He's got millions of dollars.
What is it?
In crypto.
I have $50 a Bitcoin or something. Like I don't have any money in it, but I very pro the idea of cryptocurrency.
Okay. Yeah. Decentralized powers to people.
And the idea of free trading.
Yeah, like exactly. That. Liquidity. You can send money to Azkaban.
Yeah, just if you want to get some, whatever Azkaban sells, whatever totally legal paraphernalia Azkaban sells, you want to get a mentor delivered to your house, give him a Bitcoin, and now you got a soul sucker at your house.
The half-blooded prince some Bitcoin,
and he'll show you up with some real good blood.
Yeah.
So even as somebody who's very pro cryptocurrency, I do not see any redeeming values in NFTs. It's just.
But you're really into like, trading cards and card games.
And I get the idea of intrinsic value.
Sure.
Right? Like I will go buy a $100 Magic card if I think it's worth $100.
Totally.
And maybe that's the difference as somebody who's sitting outside of the market. Somebody who sits outside the Magic card market goes, how the hell is that worth $100? It's a piece of cardboard.
Right, exactly.
You say, yes, it's a piece of cardboard. That's half of it, by the way, physical media.
Yeah.
That's immediately half the difference.
Right, exactly.
It physically is the card I'm owning.
Physically there.
Which is for the argument you also make for crypto as an NFT. It's like, but it's guaranteed to be $100. Me and everybody in my circle knows that that's worth $100. Here's the price history of it. And I'm going to get $100 worth of use out of it. And I'm going to use it to play in the tournament and win, or something like that.
Okay, well, here's the connection, right? Everyone knows that it's $100, right? How do they know that?
Exactly. Yeah, you use it's public opinion and the general community's knowledge that agrees, consensus that it's $100.
It's almost like a bunch of computers are
the same thing with NFTs.
A ledger of everyone saying it's $100. It's been confirmed to be $100.
But then no one can come in and go, oh, that's a sweet $100 card, and then they have it and they walk out the door with it. I don't have to go, no, you can't right-click, copy-paste my Magic card. That doesn't happen like it does with NFTs.
I can borrow your $100 card, copy it on my copier, and then I can technically play with it.
No, it will be such an obvious copy. You think people don't try that all the time? It happens all the time.
Exactly. Well, that's the
and they get caught every single time.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing as NFTs, right? Because like if you copy an NFT, you know that's not yours because we can look at the blockchain
and and that's the difference. It has a centralized you know who the name owner is on it. Totally. But then it seems like it defeats the point of anonymity, which is the whole point of digital currency anyway. Oh, who bought that? And you can go track it all the way through.
Okay, so I don't know everything about this, right? I'm not a historian of it.
Like we also mentioned, I'm outside the community also, so I don't know anything either.
Yeah, so we're just commenting on something we don't know.
Yeah.
But
podcasts.
Yeah. But at the same time, like what I think is going on here is you have this, I think you have a third party ID, right?
That's independent to your personality.
Yeah, like you can confirmably say that
it's like Bitcoin wallets.
Yeah, without saying that is me.
It's number 5,208, not Eric Holm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I can kind of see that.
That's just my understanding of it, and I could be wrong.
The idea of the big problem with, like you talked about, Magic cards, is that it is non-liquid. If I have a $1,000 deck full of $100 cards, and I go, oh shit, I need to, car catches on fire and buy a new car. I have to go through and resell and really spend effort to liquidize these to get money out of them. Cryptocurrency, not a problem. There's somebody deposit cash into your account that same day. You go on Coinbase and say withdraw, and you're done.
100%. As long as you pay the fee, you're fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is a point of currency. Using a digitalized currency that also has liquidity problems, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's saying like, oh yeah, I have my Smoking Monkey NFT, but my mortgage is coming up and I want to get ahead on it, so I'm going to sell it. I'll have to, and maybe it's just like crypto. Maybe you just say sell and somebody auto buys it on an auto bid. I don't know.
Maybe. But the exchanges that I've seen is you basically put it up for like an auction, and then people bet on it, or they put up their own. What do you call that?
They do. I know none of you use crypto to do it usually.
Yeah.
They say it's a bidding process and say here's 61 Ethereum or something, which I think I just said a number which would have been like $60,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, 61 times 3,000.
Here's 7 Ethereum. There we go. That's a more reasonable number.
$24,000.
Yeah, there. See, I know that a lot of them go for 50, 60, 70K. I've seen that before.
Yeah, fair enough. A lot of like the board
monkey.
Club. Yeah, there's a lot of up and coming NFT artists.
Which that's
smiles at
smile at the camera. No, so what I don't get
find
though,
mine, Ed.
So that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Where the source is. So I guess now you've helped me coalesce one of my thoughts on why I wasn't a fan.
Okay.
Magic cards come from Wizard of the Coast. Bitcoins come from the individual blockchains that they're associated with.
Where's mine from? Yeah.
NFTs
are minted using
by a guy who draws it and gives it an ID, right?
Well, no. So it's like I can NFT anything. I can NFT this podcast. I could.
Oh, but that'd be funny.
I know, right?
Somebody pays $5 and nobody ever gets to listen to it again.
Yeah.
Except for him.
Well, I think you can actually do copies of it.
Well, yeah, that's obviously you can always copy NFTs. That's the whole point.
Wow, how dare you?
I mean, we would never do that. That's theft.
So what you can do is like you could do this for free. By the way, there's a platform called OpenSea, and you go onto OpenSea.com. You create an account, and you can actually take any file, any photograph, any audio file for that matter, and you can upload it to this platform and mint it with Polygon.
I wonder how many copies of Never Gonna Give You Up are NFTs.
Yeah.
that audio file.
So that's the thing. You have to actually
I guess
own
it's
it.
Trademarked.
Yeah. So if it's like copyrighted material or if it's trademarked.
Okay.
Then...
So that's why it's independent artists.
Right.
They don't have to worry about it. They're not going to go make the entirety of season 1 of Game of Thrones and NFT.
Exactly. Yeah.
The HBO could.
Right.
So you can come in and decide, yeah, hey, guess what? Who wants to own the Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Sell for $300,000 or something.
Well, see, I kind of like this concept though, because it solves an inherent issue with the internet, which is copying, right?
And copyright and stuff. You know, that's maybe I would be too harsh on it, because maybe rather than viewing it as its independent vessel, I should view it as the first step towards ownership on the internet, which is a big problem.
Huge, right? Like, and there's this gatekeeping that occurs whenever you are an artist and you want to put something out on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Anyone can copy Charlie Bit My Finger and put it up. And
it's even worse for any artist who produces drawn media or commissions. Like, I play a lot of D&D, and I always buy everything I use. Yes, sir. And just the number of stuff that you can go look and see, like Google something for, free token. Right. And then it's like a huge, amazing Mastercraft watercolor photo. And then like the feet are cut off. And you're like, oh, I know what the bottom of that photo was.
Yeah.
That was the artist's name and the copyright that has now just been cropped out. And it's like, and you just see pages of that.
Yep.
It's like, man, I'm glad that I don't have to worry about that in my field. Nobody's going to go say, oh, you made $30 worth of labor. No.
Yeah.
It's mine now. Go away. I'm not paying you. Like, that doesn't happen.
I don't know. Is there anything artistic that you do though? As far as, I mean, because you write, right?
I kind of dabbled a little bit. It's hard to keep with it. I think that I use using writing as an actual novel as a stand-in for writing like my D&D campaigns, which is where a lot of my actual creative energy went to.
Interesting.
But I'm not very creative brained at all. Like, I can improv, I can sit down and make a goofy goblin voice for the players quickly and easily. But if you say, hey, go draw anything or plan a layout of something, go make go woodwork or something, I don't have that sort of spatial creativity at all. That's really interesting. Narrative creativity, I can nail that. I can do that every day.
Totally. Yeah.
And I make you think that I planned it all along. I can do that easily. But then you say, like, yeah, but then, like, what's he look like? And you're like, it's got, like, brown hair. He's, like, 5'8". And
but he's an elf. Shouldn't he have white hair?
Yeah, and he's like, and his name is on I have a list over here. I mean, his name. That's cool. It's, like, Girl Strong Job. But then, he's hot. Like, it's just, it's not there.
Right.
If it's like, go draw even if you sat down and gave me like the world's best police sketch artist.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what it looked like. You're like, how close together his eyes? And you'd be like, average. How big is his nose? A little smaller than normal. Like, I don't have
that level of detail. How close are their eyes?
That's a thing. Yeah. I mean, when you see those police sketches that are just spot on,
right?
They know every leading question to ask. I think a lot of it too is just practice. If you're doing it for 30 years, you can kind of gauge the question too.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'll see those photos and then you'll see photos that are way off. But apparently eyewitnesses are also historically untrustworthy.
Super untrustworthy. Yeah. And that's like the premier form of evidence in the judiciary system.
I think like video cameras are probably more prevalent nowadays.
Yeah, the video camera, DNA, that's above all else.
But historically, through humanity's history, it was just eyewitnesses. I saw her get on a broom and fly away. No, you did not, because that's not a thing.
That's not physically possible, and that's why I love like our field, right? Because you can say, well, that's not physically possible.
I will go spend 40 hours of my week to prove that what you've done is wrong.
Exactly. There's no possible way, and let me prove that for you. Here's a bunch of physics equations.
Here's 2 times I did everything I could to possibly get that, and it did not work.
Yeah.
So no, I can empirically say that you are a liar.
Right. If this were true, these 5 other things would be true. And we all know that this is false. That is false as well. So you can like go down and logically say what is true and what is false.
Yeah. Then that is why I like being a scientist, because what I hated in school growing up was like English papers.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, I can do narrative writing.
Yeah.
And I would write these whole beautiful things and they'd be like B+.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what did I do that doesn't deserve an A?
Right,
and like, it just wasn't good enough. Like,
I didn't like it.
Yeah. I didn't like the character's arc in the middle where he like struggled with himself. And I felt like that kind of tainted my opinion of him throughout the whole narrative. And you're like, that's the point.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make him Mary Sue, who was just good at it. I wanted him to doubt himself. And then it's like, nah.
I didn't like it.
B. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you go take a science class and it's like, yeah, you got 92% yield, so you got 92.
Yeah.
You probably like lost some liquid in the middle and you go, oh yeah, I did. And that's it. And you know the grade you got and you deserved it.
Right. Or you could fight with your professor and say, actually, 92% yield is actually very good for this.
Yeah.
If you take my other colleagues, for example, who only got 70.
Yeah. And you think they deserve a 70? Like,
I mean, come on now.
What did the validation for this method that you ran by yourself? Did you get the same amount? Which, by the way, have been super burned on that before. But definitely, like, there are the teachers who are there because they're graduate teachers who are doing research and are good at their job. 100%. And they're like, I ran this lab this morning and I got 100%. And you're like, damn.
That's incredible. You.
You deserve. Then you say the argument, do I have to be you to get an A? Do only grad students or grad professors get A's?
Right.
Like, do I not deserve an A? But still, they make that argument. You go, it's not literally possible to do this. And they go, yes, it is. I did it. Well, shit.
Damn it.
Yeah. Well, I want to be. Like, you just try to take all the wind right out of your sails.
Yeah. That's the coolest part about it is you can argue your position.
Which I remember in organic, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2, but I retook both of those classes. I'm not going to be too proud to pretend that. I was a bad student and worked full time. I won't pretend my grades were great.
Oh yeah,
100%. But I was doing a lab and I remember that it was a lab that I struggled with the year before. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is a linear reagent and it says approximately, so I'm just going to go ahead and add like a couple extra drops. Nice. And I was like, because now I got the most yield in the class by far.
Fuck yeah.
And the grad assistant who was the lab professor there was like, you have the best anybody's ever done. And I was like, well, I said I had approximately 5 mils and I had like 5.7. Right. That's not the method. Like, you didn't have 5. You didn't follow the method. And I said, it said approximately. That's true. It told me that I didn't have to go get a volumetric and do 5. Yeah. And I knew that adding 5.7 would give me literally perfect results, which did. You'll notice. So, no.
Maybe you should update your fucking method.
Yeah, if you said 5.0 with a volumetric, then I'd be like, all right, you got it. But it didn't. And so I didn't. Right. Exactly. And really, shouldn't I not be rewarded for knowing the science enough to prove to what the problem was?
Yeah. And I guarantee people have done it before you.
Yeah, and not admitted to it.
And they just weren't transparent about it. Yeah, this is the same thing about the bookstore.
Yeah, dude, I just am an honest guy, and that's the big problem. That has been an issue with me historically in my whole life. Yeah, officer, I was going a little fast. Sorry.
Right, exactly. Admit to crimes.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Publicly.
Just, I speed a lot. Yeah? Like a lot.
I'm actually transporting methamphetamine. It's in the trunk.
Like, right now. That's where I got to go after this. I got a meeting.
Yeah, I got a meeting with a guy. You want to come with? We need the extra security. He's
Trust me, I got me and 4 friends, and I need a 5th. Yeah. I think speeding's probably the only illegal thing that.
Oh yeah.
But it's like kind of this weird, just everybody does
area. Yeah.
Like if you just sit at the speed limit. Yeah. You are the so far bottom of the bell curve.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Because we look at limits as scientists and we're like, that is either exactly what I need to get or more than.
Or going past that triggers an emergency stop.
Right.
That I have now, oh shit, there's a process of stopping here.
So like.
But a speed limit is the recommendation for that area.
It's kind of like a midpoint.
I don't even know if it's that. I think it's definitely the recommended like neighborhood. Like if it says 70, you'll pass people going 60 and you're like, oh, their car's shaking. Cool. And then you'll be going to 77, 75. And then you'll get somebody scream past you.
Oh yeah, 90.
And you're like,
black BMW.
Yeah. And you're like,
why in the fuck is that dented?
I wonder why that has body damage. Moving on. And then they'll pass a cop and you're like, he's going to get pulled over.
Haha.
And then the cop will stay there and you're like, I guess that's fine.
Yeah. This is permissible.
He was going 89 and we're cool with this.
Right.
I guess I'm going to go 79 now. Like it's just that happens.
Yeah.
So that's a weird cultural thing that's happened now where it's not really even, it's definitely illegal. You'll get fined hundreds of dollars. I got a speeding ticket like 6 months ago for like 11 over in a park, which
really,
I think I remember telling you this. He was moving towards me down a hill and I was going forward and he said I was going like 55.
And you were like, prove it, bitch.
And I was like, there's literally no way that's possible.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't even shifted gears yet. And in my big, huge crossover car, like I was not going 55. Like I was going 20 and you could have been going 33.
Right.
Like I don't believe that. But then it ended up being, a speeding ticket that I have to get a lawyer for 2 states away.
Yeah.
or just pay like $100. And it's like, okay, how much are the lawyers going to be? And they're like, $200. It's like, I'm going to pay more money to fight this and maybe lose than I will to just pay it. And so it's just got strong armed into saying, yeah, whatever, I was going 50. I don't care.
Have you ever represented yourself?
I have, actually twice.
In a court of law?
Once.
Yeah.
Once.
What happened?
I had another time, I got pulled over speeding because of delivering pizzas. Okay. And it was this part of town where the speed limit drops from 45 to 35.
Yeah.
And he pulled me over, and I was pulled over at the sign for 35. I remember my car was parallel to it.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote the speeding ticket for 50 and a 35 because he saw me going 50 back down the road.
Right.
And I remember getting the ticket and being like, this is insane.
Yeah.
He just wrote me 15 over, and I would think I was going 49
and
45.
Exactly.
Because I know that 5 over is a decent break point for a lot of stuff. I remember being infuriated by it. And I ended up going to court, and my boss was like, just go say it. Go tell the judge that. I was like, oh, he's a judge. I don't want to do that. So my boss is like, you're going to pay a couple $100 in fines if you don't.
Right.
Like, just go. I remember going to like this arraignment, and they're like, oh, you were going 15 over. How do you plead? And I was like, I'll plead guilty if you drop it to 9 over because I don't want points on my license. If you look at the ticket, you'll see where the address is and see that that's where the speed limit changes. And the judge like kind of looked at once at his paperwork and he goes, it'll be the same fine because it's a city fine. It's a maximum on it. He's like, are you fine with that? And I said, yeah, I just don't want the points. And the prosecutor, he goes, went looked at the prosecutor, said, are you fine with that? He said, yeah, I don't care. He said, yeah, okay, fine, 9 over. And then rang gavel. And I was like, neat. And then we walked over and paid it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. But the end result was I got paid the maximum fine that I shouldn't have.
Definitely not.
For something I didn't do. So then I walked away going, hell yeah. And then like years later, I was like, I kind of got scammed anyway.
A little bit.
I even played that system to the best of my knowledge. And I still basically agreed to saying I was going 4 miles an hour faster than I was.
Yeah.
To pay more money.
And not to mention, they treat you like a fucking asshole if you represent yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I don't know if that's really what I did because it was arraignment. It wasn't a court date. So I think representing yourself means an actual court date. Whereas mine was an arraignment.
I don't know.
It was me and 50 people in a rural Kansas courtyard.
Maybe they're a little kinder in that environment.
Polite, yeah. And I gave them, $180 or whatever, so I'm sure they didn't care.
Have you ever thought about a public defender?
I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, I've heard that they fucking fall asleep.
I've heard that there are public defenders who just want to retire.
Yeah.
Just want to be a public defender until they die. And then there's public defenders who want to be a city prosecutor and be the best lawyer in the county. And I don't know if you have, and as by the nature of a public defender,
right,
you have no control over which of those you get. So
that's true. Yeah.
And I feel like usually if you're having legal issues, you don't want to take a coin flip. Doesn't seem to be the kind of thing that you want to.
No.
Man, am I going to live happy life? Oh, nope, going to jail. Like that's not. I don't.
I still feel like you get paid enough to like pay attention though. Right.
I mean, it's just like anything. There are good and bad people of every profession.
Right.
Like that's what they talk about a lot of times. Nurses have like immediate, legal battles surrounding it, and it's like it shouldn't be illegal to be bad at your job. Like
yeah. Well, there's malpractice, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you say something, oh, she missed this, like that. Okay, negligent. There has to be a defining limit for that. Like
you were responsible for.
If I'm working 40 hours a week and 2 of those hours I'm kind of sleepy and I'm not doing a good job, I'm not going to hurt anybody.
It's true.
In that, but if I do now, is it a felony? Like that's an interesting thing to get. That I have to like. I know a lot of people that I talk about like, oh my god, they should go to jail for that. Like, it's not illegal to be bad at your job. It becomes a whole different issue if you're a nurse. But I mean, if the UPS guy is shitty at his job and your product doesn't show up on time, he doesn't go to jail for that. He shouldn't. You shouldn't be able to send him to jail for that.
Right. We shouldn't give government the ability
to just like really crack it down on. We're already so hyper focused on production, and that if it now becomes illegal to do a poor job, oh my god, I can't imagine the implications as a society.
Yeah, exactly.
Would do.
Who gets hurt? Poor people.
Like always. It's the scapegoat of society.
Yeah. Poor people.
Just like the legal system we just talked about.
Yeah. And then, in order to represent yourself, now you have to, you can either represent yourself or you can get a public defender who might not be good. I mean, it's a coin flip, right?
And then if you're representing yourself, your best case scenario there is that you're putting yourself up against somebody who's done it for a living and gone to school for it for years and had an entire support structure of mentors to teach them how to put you in the dirt for thinking like that.
Yeah, you are playing chess, not knowing how to move the pieces.
You're playing chess against
Magnus?
Magnuson?
Magnus? Magnum Dong.
Him, Mr. Massive Dong.
That's right.
With a book titled "How to Play Chess."
Yeah,
but you basically have to hope that he feels bad for you or he fucks up because nothing you say will win. They go, it turns out actually the arresting officer did something wrong and it's an illegal play. You win. And you go, neat, thanks. That's the only world that you win.
Yeah, it's just they're kind to you.
Or actually the way you win is you sit down and they see you and they go, oh, you're going to play me? And you go, uh-huh. And they go, that's not worth my time. And they walk away. That's how you win, is they drop the case. They're like, he's representing himself. I don't want to go to court.
Wow, he sat down at the table.
Yeah.
All right, we'll drop it.
Yeah, he's got an argument. It's not one that I can easily dismantle. It's going to actually take more than one day of trials, so we're good.
And they did that math like in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Nope.
But we're good. And then they walk away and you're like, I won! It's like, yay, you didn't win. They didn't play. It's just very different.
Yeah. And that's our legal system, and we're sticking to it.
Our legal system, I'm not experienced in. And you hear about a lot of problems and issues with it.
Yeah.
But it's good to have one.
Definitely. And totally better than Russia.
You hear foreign countries that have legal systems that make ours look so much better, but you also have ones that make ours look so much worse. And so you think, I don't have enough knowledge to know if this is the best or worst version of it.
No.
You get your massively polarizing stuff, like teenagers going to jail for stuff that their parents did because they're 16 and get tried as an adult. And
petty crime.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, that's awful, but is that better than just a judge or an oligarch somewhere just deciding arbitrarily, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you're not.
I think the whole idea of that is decentralization, right?
I think we were talking about this in the car yesterday.
Yeah.
I actually remember that. I remember the argument I made where I talked about people talk about he broke into a car.
Yeah.
You hear that sentence at any different socioeconomic area in the United States, and it has entirely different implications.
It really does.
If you think he broke into a car and you're in a downtown metropolitan area and it's an unlocked, abandoned car, nobody cares.
No.
That's not. Now, if you're in a rural area and you had to go out of your way to go to where the car is stored to break into it,
right?
That's way worse.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a subdivision, okay, you didn't live there. You had to go through an area that's not for public throughput area. Had to go out of your way to then go break into a car. It's even worse. So having the constables or the lawyers be aware of what the cultural idea is in that area is an entirely different idea. Or if you think, man, he ran over, he shot a dog. You hear that and you're like, oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, why would he do that?
Unless he's a sheep farmer and that's his neighbor's dog killing a sheep. He's in the right there.
Or it's like a wild feral dog.
Yeah, it's the original owners have it off a chain and it's running around through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's not even a neighborhood, it's a rural middle nowhere area. But if you live in suburbia and you think, he shot a dog. A, why does he have a gun?
Yeah.
And B, why did he shoot that dog? He's not protecting any crops or livestock out there. That shouldn't happen.
No reason to shoot a dog.
Or you live in Australia, he shot a dog. Why does he have a gun?
Yeah.
There's an entirely different cultural idea to that sentence depending on where you're at.
Exactly. No matter where you're at, you're going to have a different interpretation of what a crime is and what that entails and what a punishment should be. So
it helps to have a little bit of individual judge authority.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be the final do all say all, which is where decentralization is perfect for that.
Right, where it doesn't come from the top down and you have to say, well, the president said that you should be executed.
Yeah. Turns out any violence towards a dog, capital punishment.
Capital punishment.
Because he's got a really cute Labrador and can't imagine. It's like, I was going to not eat this year if he killed the rest of my sheep. And they're like, well, we're not going to eat this year anyway, weirdly enough. So you're succeeding.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I think that the idea of that though is decentralization always allows for the most productive society. I think in any aspect.
Historically hate saying anything that is always or never.
Oh, that's a fair point. Always hate.
I always hate
absolute statements.
The word never.
Yeah.
The Jedi, what's the do not speak in absolutes, and it's like, what's that sentence?
Right.
Stop.
Yeah. That is a fun maxim.
Yeah, you're like, that is an interesting idea. So is this like a test by me realizing that that's flawed?
Right.
Do I pass? Or am I now?
Yes, you always pass.
Yeah, it's like, or now I'm not good enough to be indoctrinated, so I fail. This is I'll just nod and pretend that I understand.
Yeah. No, I feel like that trends toward a more productive society, I believe.
Yeah, that's
you take it into economics, you get capitalism, you decentralize capitalism, and you have all of us striving to be rich, right? Well, not rich, but enough to get by.
Oh, I mean, everybody's striving to be rich.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I feel like
the goal of saying like, the people who are always striving to be one socioeconomic class higher than they are.
Right.
Which is not the definition of rich.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a synonym there.
Almost
the people at the poverty level just want a house to live in and
yeah.
People who are at that level just want to be able to take a vacation twice a year.
Right.
People at that level just want a second house. People who are at that level just want to be able to import and export whatever they want to.
Yeah.
People at that level just want to be able to affect governmental policy. So it's this weird sliding scale that's just like humanity.
And it's like orders of magnitude too.
Yeah, and that's the issue of decentralization is the scale in the world now. I can go right now with the gas that I have in my car and the money in my wallet and just literally see anywhere in the United States for sure. And I have a passport, so that actually I could probably see most of the world fairly easily.
Congratulations.
Yeah, passport's easy. Everybody should have a passport. It's insane not to have one. I'm just throwing that out there. I've been to one other foreign country. I went to Niagara Falls. I went to Canada. It was cool, but I have a passport, and I have a level of confidence and like security now.
Right.
It's just like, if my wallet gets stolen, I don't have ID. I can just be like, nope, I am Nathan Suthoff. This is the highest form of legally binding identification.
Fair enough.
That says, and my wife actually was a form of stress because my driver's license had my middle name misspelled, and it had been for a while, and we didn't notice it.
Does it say Brian?
It says Brian instead of Byron.
Yeah.
And she was stressing out about it, and I go, I have a passport. I don't, and it's spelled correctly.
Yeah.
I don't care. If my driver's license is wrong, it doesn't matter at all. If there ever is the weird eclipsing situations that make it matter to where I need this identification insanely bad,
right?
I have a passport, which I don't think is likely to happen.
No.
But you always stress about things that aren't likely to happen anyway. I get weird stress because my belly button itches too much. Like, I don't know what that is that forms anxiety.
Got checked out, man.
No, like it's I don't know why that's an anxiety trigger for me.
Yeah.
It's like definitely like a body horror thing where I'm like, oh man, there's like something in my belly button. And then I like feel myself solid spot. I'm like, stop.
Why does that itch?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And it's like, and I got a gut. And so now I'm fat. And then it's just like, it's just this anxiety that's just, I don't know what it is about the belly button that's happened 2 or 3 times now. And I can start to kind of feel the onset of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason to have any anxiety about that in the slightest.
Right.
So
but you know yourself enough to know that that's going to trigger that.
Yeah. And so it's normal and that happens. Right. But so if I had a piece of paper that could say, I will stop this anxiety because I have the anti-itch paperwork, like I would love that. And I feel like having I just forgot the name passport. I was like Visa. That's not right. I don't have a credit card. Having a passport helps that and a lot of different, and if, I decide, I kind of, somebody says, hey, I have tickets to go to Borboros and they're going to get wasted and they're on for Friday. Do you want them? I can go.
Bora Bora, and get that fucking out of here.
Yeah. Oh, I only go to Cuba. I don't go to Bora Bora. Yeah. I can go, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And grab the tickets and fly, that's a weird thing to think it's going to happen because it's not. It's the opposite of an anxious event. It's being excited about something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Never. Versus being anxious about something that's going to happen. Never.
How long does your state ID last?
State IDs are, we can look. Your driver's license is 6 years after you're 25.
No, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Expires 2025, issued 2019. So 6 years.
Okay.
And your passport's 10.
10 years.
I think it's either 10 or then it's 5 if you're under 20. There's like a break point.
So it's like $100, but you have that for 10 years. Yeah. So that's what, $10
But I think that even if you have an expired one,
and
you're not trying to leave the country, it's still a valid form of identification. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
I'm, again, not a lawyer. But I think that if you say, I'm sorry, officer, my wallet got stolen. Here's my passport.
Right.
It's expired, but it's literally a photo of me and all of my information on it.
This is legal advice.
Yeah, I think that saying that immediately proves that you have no backing in law, because you're just somebody's face palming it. I can't believe you just said
no.
Oh
this
my
is not
God.
only legal advice, but financial advice
from an institution.
Yeah.
No, do not take this with a grain of salt. Do not do that ever.
Yeah. So we are portraying characters and
who are idiots.
Yeah, who are idiots, and nothing we say here is legally binding
or real. Let's just say that.
Or real.
Yeah. We're just total. We walk in through the door and assume identities.
Exactly. So my name's not actually Eric Pullman. It's Derek.
Don't say it. I gotta make a different one.
Yeah.
Derek. The football player.
Derek Pullman. That's my actual full name.
Full legal name.
My full legal name is Derek Pullman.
Because your mom has a sick sense of, or parents have a sick sense of humor.
Yeah. Don't assume.
Who do you naming? Well, I mean, historically, mothers do. I mean, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you think so?
I would guess so.
I gotta ask my mom. Who am I named after?
I'm named after my mom's dad. That's my middle name.
See, that makes sense.
So that would lead you to assume, you don't assume that your dad go, hey, let's name it after your dad. You assume that your mom goes, hey, we name it after your dad. So maybe that's just me, like, inserting my own opinion on the way the world works because of my name, which is fair.
Byron.
Yeah, it's a cool name. I like it.
Where's that from?
Yeah, it's just his first name. His middle name? Ooh, I should know this.
Yeah.
No, it's his middle name. It was Walter Byron.
Okay.
Yeah. Somewhere my mom listened to this and she just had a heart attack. And she's like, thank God.
No.
It is not his first name.
Yeah, I told you so.
She would never sound like that. She'd just be disappointed.
Right.
Yeah, that's that'd be more
the tongue click.
And then getting her and go, okay. Like that'd be it.
Need to tell him.
I can't believe he's not. Doesn't know Kareem's name either.
Right.
What's her middle name? Rose? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Middle names are actually really important for females.
Really?
And I've thought about this because if you you will often see people or women in specifically have their first and middle name, right? It's a lot more important than it is for a guy's middle name.
I wonder where that is.
No one fucking knows my middle name. I think it's
I don't even know.
Funny to say it's Derek.
Yeah.
But
because I think it took weeks of conversation until you finally told me.
Right, exactly.
Or saw your driver's license one time and I was like, aha!
Yeah. But
Which I won't say aloud, you're welcome.
If it's Carol, right, then she'll go by like Carol Ann or something. Like
I guess I never noticed that.
Her middle name's very important. And I think where that comes from is traditionally when women take the last name.
Oh, because maiden names and the last names change. It is a larger percentage of their identifying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Middle names don't change.
That's a good point. That makes sense. You want to hear something weird?
Yeah.
All but one of the people I've dated in my life have had the same middle name.
Really?
Yeah.
Anne?
Nope. What is my wife's middle name?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Yeah, I shouldn't pose that question to you. I mean,
yeah. That question, I don't think gets answered across people in basically any social circle.
Right.
It's like asking, what's your best friend's birthday?
April 12th.
You're close. You're 5 days off. April 17th.
Yeah.
See, and I always say that because I'm terrible at birthdays.
Right.
But the two people that I know and talk to the most in my life, Fred and Eric, and Casey. Fred and Eric.
Yeah.
You're right up there. They both are so good with birthdays that they'll say it. And then it takes all the wind out of my sails. And I'm like, am I just an asshole? Because I have no. Yours is June or July. I have a 60-day window. And they're like,
that's not a month.
Do the same thing you do, where they're like 5 days off.
Yeah.
Is this a mental block that I have that I just don't know birthdays?
Okay, so for me, it's not that bad, right? Because I barely know any numbers whatsoever. You, however, are very good with numbers, and so that actually does kind of make you a dick.
Yeah, but dates are different, though.
Dick.
It's you are a dick.
Yeah.
Dates are not just integers, though. Maybe that's the thing.
They totally are,
but they're not to me. That's a mental break that I have differently. So no, I know I'm not doing it. There's when I was growing up, I was really bad about months.
Okay.
And when I would be working at Papa John's, and people would be like, "It's 07/21," and I'd be like,
Like I would actually sit there and have to think it through.
I get so pissed off when like we look at the label on the VWR labels and they always fucking change it from like
month, day to day, month.
Yeah. They'll either say April or they'll put 04. But when they put fucking June or July, I will always put the wrong.
That's your mental switch. You're like, oh, Chevin, even though that's not the right one at all. See, it took me literally years of giving people credit card information over the phone for me to have a not good, but a passable knowledge of what month numbers are what.
Right.
And I was like 26. Like that is just embarrassing. Well, but even now somebody's like March 3rd. I'm like 3.
Yeah.
Like it's not immediately.
Like it's a toss up. That's either 3 or 5.
Yeah. And then it's like June 6. It's like it's not right away. It takes a second.
Especially if it's written JUL or JUN.
The neuron that fires that we've determined is taking longer than it should doesn't happen until the third letter.
Exactly.
It doesn't start at the beginning.
And it often gets forgotten by that point.
Which I've had people too. Some of the most annoying conversations, people are like, yeah, it's like 6/11. I'm like, okay, it's June 11th. Like, no, it's July. And I'm like, one of us is wrong.
Yeah.
Is it? And then you just hear
now I have to rethink my calendar.
You can look at the wall. You're like, well, it's April, so it doesn't help me at all. May, June. Okay, so it's 6. Like that happens. If I had a birthday that wasn't in, like, if I had a birthday that was in like January, December, it wasn't separated enough from the beginning of the year, because those are easy. 12 and 1 are easy.
Yeah.
And mine's in April, so 4. It's separated just enough that I can use it as an anchor point for half the year. It took me a long time to get through like August, September.
Right. Fuck that calendar.
Yeah.
August.
What's the Twitter post? Like, man, whatever reason that November isn't the 9th and October isn't the 8th month should be shot. And they're like, or should be stabbed. And they're like, boy, do I have some good news for you.
Julius Augustus Caesar
got the shit stabbed out of him.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd hope it's like a time traveler. Well, it's like somebody who's in like the accounting field in like 3011 when we're still using this Gregorian calendar. And he just like shows up and he's like, all right, you know what? I got some work to do.
Well, guess who doesn't have a month?
Yeah.
Fucking Brutus. Guess who has the last laugh?
Yeah. And it's like Brutus is sitting there afterwards and he's like, man, should I like rename my month? And the accountant's like, no. I will absolutely stab you right now. Just like, yeah, sorry, I didn't know this was a trigger for you. He's like, we're staying how it is.
Yeah.
And then he disappears.
You know what? I heard this really good YouTube video. I was watching this YouTube video about this guy, Scott Flanagan, I believe is his name. He's the human calculator. He can calculate numbers faster than anyone on the planet.
That's insane.
So he'll start out with like 2, 4, 6, 8, like, and he'll just like, he will at a rapid rate compound numbers.
I can't imagine. So that has to be the thing where, you know, nobody's neural pathways are the exact same.
No, definitely.
And it's like, I have a really muddled bad one about months. That definitely has to be a thing to where numbers to him are just like matrix points. And it's just super easy to just like boop, boop, and pick them.
Right.
So that has, I wonder, I've frequently wondered, like, what are the other people who are like that don't realize it? Like there's some cook somewhere who can literally scoop it and go like 0.38 grams.
Yeah.
And like, they'll never know that that's a thing.
Yeah. They don't know that other people can't do that.
Yeah. They just assume that that's normal.
So they're like, scoop 0.8.
Why are people not good at baking?
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine that.
Right.
And then he's over there, like, at some point realizing people are using calculators, and he's like, oh, wait a minute.
Hold up.
Nobody can do this like I can.
Well, Elon Musk had that, right? Like early on, it's about 5 years old when you realize like everybody doesn't have this exploding of ideas always happening in their brain.
See, I think there's a sweet spot where it's like your good amount of confidence versus like empathy. Which if you have either of those in the 2 levels, you'll never get that realization.
Yeah.
If you just have no self-confidence and all the empathy, like everybody else is super good at everything they do.
Oh my God.
I'm not special.
All the upsides of autism, but no downsides.
Yeah. And then if you get the opposite of that, when you're like, I'm the best, but you will literally never realize that other people don't have that ability.
Yeah.
I think everything that you do is just special because you're cool, not because you have, you know.
Right, exactly. You're just walking around like Nikola Tesla and just
swaggering.
Yeah, swaggering around at the rates of pi, right? And you're stepping to the golden ratio.
Yeah, that's just autism. That's all that is. There's no big spin there. That's like if I don't take 3.14 steps, I'm going to hurt myself. Like that. You're hindering your development and your social skills, and you're not walking twice as far to just make your brain work better.
You're putting all these limitations on you. for no reason.
Did I tell you about the professor I had that was definitely autistic?
Oh, where he's like mumbling the whole time.
Yeah, he was a physics professor, and he taught for like years and years and years.
Uh-huh.
And he'd show up in hello class, and he'd be like, "Oh man, I'm in the back. I can't hear this at all."
Yeah.
And then somebody would ask him a question, and he would get super flustered, and like you'd feel bad for him. Yeah, he'd like clench up, and he'd look down, and he would like write the answer on the board and like mumble, and be like, okay. And you're like, okay, I feel bad.
Yeah.
And then somebody would say, "Hey, professor, I have this question that I found online. So it's not like it's a textbook.
Right.
He doesn't have an answer to it. And he'd write it down, and he'd be like, yeah, so this is like sine of this whole angle times like big numerical term,
right,
times like some other integer number somewhere. That's like what, 0.75? I haven't even put it in my calculator yet, man. It's like 0.741. He's like, neat. And then you write it down.
He's like, yeah, because that's square root of 2 over 3.
Yeah, he's like, because that's square root of 121. And you're like, I guess they're like, okay. And so I remember thinking the first time I did that, I was like, man, I can't believe they had this guy teach like an intro level class.
Right.
Like, this is just, I feel it's like bullying at this point.
That's a good point.
And then he did that, and I was like, oh, he's just a really good physicist.
Yeah.
He does not need a calculator to grossly estimate anything he wants.
And see, people like that belong in like a research institution.
Which is probably why he was teaching first level class. Yeah. Because he probably does research. Like, what's the thing that teachers have to have an X number of like teaching hours? So if you teach one class with a ton of people, it's worth more than like 2 classes with less people.
That's
so probably just does that one class and he's good for the year. That's probably how it works out.
I hope so.
My mom could know. She's taught for way too many years. So,
but that whole system is just not set up for that personality type.
Yeah, he is probably, you'd assume that type of person is probably one of the best researchers they have there.
Yeah.
And then he's forced to be now one of the worst teachers they have.
Right.
Which seems unfair.
And what you need people that are exceptional in communication on the front lines of the intro classes. Otherwise, why would you think that scientists have such a lull in enrollment?
I think that might be the thing. I think that science, especially your hard STEM fields, naturally gravitate towards people who don't have that sort of charisma and sort of communication ability.
Definitely not.
And that then they do put their best forward, and it's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
They say, this is the most communicative person we have, and he will insult you regularly, and you will hate him.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's just a bad teacher. He takes the next class, and you go, oh no, he is the good one.
He's kind of the norm.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's had that moment somewhere in their life.
Well, I don't know.
You go to like a fast food place and you have a bad experience, and you're like, I was just that person. And then you go again, you're like, that's just pies.
This is a culture.
Yeah, that happens.
Well, that is true. But at the same time, I feel like I've had a lot of good instructors along the way. So this is anecdotal, but some of the best professors I've ever had have come from the STEM field.
And I think because a lot of them tend to be just very passionate.
Okay. Yeah.
Like they're in the STEM field because they're not. People go to get business degrees not because they like business, because they just want to get done with college.
Yeah. They want
people
money.
Yeah. People go into biochem because they either want to be a doctor or because they love biochem. It's not attractive, and so that is crystallized on your professors for the postgrad doctorate process. They love it enough to do it that much. And they're very passionate. And passion is what you need. Which is why having research professors who don't want to teach is a bad idea, because they're not going to be passionate for teaching at all.
Like kicking and screaming in the front of the class.
Yeah, and then you ask them a question that's interesting, and they'll come to life. And they're like, oh yeah, actually it's because of this paradox here. And I'm like, neat, hell yeah,
awesome.
And they're like, what about the test? I'm like, I guess. Like, like it just immediate deflates them. You've seen that before.
I definitely have seen that before.
One of my favorite teachers now. I hated as an undergrad.
Okay.
Part of it because he was really, really intelligent and had a really bad job. Like if you'd ask him a question, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's this," and he'd be like, "I don't have the shortcuts to get there."
Right.
He's like, "Oh," and then he would, "Okay, sorry," and then he'd try it again.
Yeah.
And eventually, he tried enough times it would work.
Yeah.
But he was an extremely good job of just being a relatable and approachable human being. And we had the way that my school did their classes was awful. But all of us had like organic and inorganic, and we had tests the same day. And we had emailed him like, "Hey, teach, we have tests tomorrow. Is there any way we can push this back?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine. I haven't written it yet. So if anybody wants to take it tomorrow, they can, but we're going to do it Friday."
Yeah.
I remember being like, "He hasn't written it yet. It's 12 hours before."
Yeah.
Well, I haven't started studying yet. Oh, you're the same person.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, this never ends.
Yeah, you're like, this
never ends.
He's just me in 30 years with a PhD. Yeah, all right.
Oh my
Cool.
God.
So many things make sense now. Moving on.
Yeah.
Which is in the same department as the teacher who was the absolute king of bullshit. And you could not. He was just an iron wall of bullshit. I remember you'd go talk to him something and you'd be like, oh, I actually thought that it was like this. He's like, no, you didn't. You just didn't do this. And you're like, well, I thought about, no, it wouldn't land.
Yeah.
And so you'd be like, yeah, so I didn't know what that equation was. So I thought it looked a lot like this one. And I got like half the answer. So I doubled it. And it was like about right. And he's like, all right. Like,
yeah.
I'll give you 10% of the points. I'm like, I'll take it. It's 10% more than I deserved because I know I deserve 0. And then you move on.
Well, and as a professor, you want to know that. You want to have accurate feedback so you can say, okay, well, I'd say 60% of students get hung up on this one concept for this one reason. So I'm going to address it on Tuesday to make sure that doesn't happen.
He was good about that too. Yeah. He's like, okay, the entire class got this question wrong.
Right.
So I fucked up.
Either you fucked up or it's a concept that needs addressing.
But he said that. He's like, so I fucked this up.
That's a good point.
And you put it on the board. And I have so many teachers who wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So you are all idiots. And it's like, sir, you never told us that.
Yeah.
How can we know? And if you're teaching 12 classes a year.
23 yet.
Yeah. If you're teaching 12 classes a year and you think, oh, I mentioned that in all of them, and you mentioned it in 11, you'll assume you mentioned it in 12.
Yeah.
So, oops, now it's his fault, but it doesn't look that way to him.
Right.
And then he would go through and teach it all. This is the same teacher that was the first time I ever got hungover. It was like a day after my birthday.
Fuck.
And I would show up to class and it was like a quiz review day. And so I didn't want to miss it. And I was just like miserable and I was pale and I was super nauseous.
Right.
And he's like, Nathan, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine, sir. Yeah. I'm fine. And he's like, you don't look fine. And so he's like, wasn't yesterday your birthday? And I was like, yeah, it was. You went out, didn't you? I did. Yeah, I'll give you full credits points. I'll email you the stuff. You can go home. And I was just like, thank you, sir. Like, just being totally honest with him, being like, yes, yesterday was my birthday. Oh, no, he didn't say. He's like, he was like, you don't look good. Are you ill? And I was like, well, yesterday was my birthday.
I was gonna say.
And I offered it to him, and he was like, you can go home. Or if I would have been like, no, I'm perfect. Nothing is wrong. He'd been like, all right, be miserable for another hour and a half.
Oh my God.
And me saying, I'm hungover, he was like, you're good. I appreciate the honesty.
Because if you didn't qualify that, you just set the bar real high to all professors who have to know the birthday. Not only the name of everybody, but
this was like a class of 8. It was like a 500 level top class. That can happen there.
Totally.
But no, I did offer it was my birthday. And I was like, okay, peace. Okay. Yeah, which was super. And then my wife, the girlfriend at the time, was like, you just need to eat some bread. And I was like, I want to throw up. And I ate a single bite of bread and I was like, you're a magician.
What?
She's like, that's one of those things. I had no knowledge of that subject. That's how hangovers work. And she just immediately fixed me.
Why does that work?
I have no idea. I think it's just because I had a ton of alcohol in my stomach still.
Yeah.
And then eating bread just soaked it up.
That's what they all say. They always say bread soaks it up. I don't think that's true.
Because the way that stomach acids work, that shouldn't happen. It has to suck all of the stomach acid out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think
no sucking that's happening.
It has to just be carbs being readily available, high energy source.
Right.
That then gets your body's working levels up to the point to where you're normal. Yeah,
I really think that's it.
That makes more sense.
If you look at like liquid IVs, you want to have those liquid IVs ready if you're hungover.
But they don't have any energy sources in them. There's no carbs in there.
They are mostly carbohydrate. They're all sugar.
Really?
It's basically
saline is sugar water?
No.
That's what IVs are saline.
It's like no, sorry, liquid IV. It's like a
it's a drink?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, really.
I think liquid IV, I think an actual IV, which is also what you do for hangovers. Because most of the time your sickness is because of dehydration. You slap an IV in there and you're good. Every person in the military ever can tell you the stories about their platoon medic having bags of ID after times on leave. Yeah. It's a thing that happens. So when you said liquid IV, I was like, yeah, that's a thing. But you said sugar, and I'm like, do I not understand how blood works? Like, wouldn't that not kill you immediately? Let's put some sugar water into the veins.
Would that work?
I almost guarantee you that would kill you.
You think so?
There's no way that goes through the heart in a normal way. It goes through the valves and everything.
I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel real weird.
What?
Blood sugar levels.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. But I'm sure it has to be like a super low number of like regular bioavailable sugar and not like just saccharin.
Yeah.
That's a good point. No, not a biologist. Maybe that's a good point.
Fuck biologists.
Yeah.
We're here to say as chemists, fuck biologists.
All I want to do is memorize domain kingdom phylum and then tell you it's a degree.
No one wants to remember shit.
Didn't you get biochem for a while?
Fuck you.
Okay, that's what I thought. Why'd you bring that up?
Yeah, my minor was in biology. My major.
My minor was in environmental science with an emphasis in sustainability.
Oh, nice. Okay,
because both of those minors are minors that existed when I first went to school that didn't exist anymore. So I had to customize and combine them into one thing.
That kind of happened to me too, where I went in for DNA analysis. And then like 3 years later, I changed it to biochem. But they looked at it and they're like, DNA analysis? You're a rare breed. And I was like, what? Why? And they're like, we stopped offering that degree in 2016. And I was like,
yeah, that happened.
All right.
And I showed up. So the way that they grandfathered stuff is, and nobody at home knows this, but I would go to school for a semester and then take a semester off and try to save money. And then I would go to school for a year, take a year off, and then end up, I hate that school and I transfer schools. So I bounced around a ton.
Yeah.
So whenever they said, hey, we have the environmental science minor, I had like 3/4 of that minor, but I wasn't an enrolled student when they canceled it. And so when I came back to, do you have an environmental science minor? They said, oh, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
And I said, no, it's right here. And they go, yep, you weren't here whenever they dropped that, so that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's sustainability. It's kind of the same. And it wasn't at all. It was like another semester, which is actually one of the reasons why it took so long to get my degree, because if you do it that way, yes, it saves money and it helps you financially. I ended up taking, 6 years worth of classes to get a 4-year degree because they keep moving the goalposts on you every time you leave and come back. And so it's miserable. Do not do it. I can tell you empirically, as somebody who's done it, don't. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Just but student loans suck too. So maybe I don't know. Just have rich parents. That's all you have to do. Anyway, moving on.
Just have rich parents.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
That's how you win life.
Exactly. Stay on your rich parents' health insurance until you're 26.
And their basement.
Exactly. Stay in a rich parent's basement. You're eating caviar anyway. You may as well just stay there.
What's the guacamole avocado toast?
Oh my god, what is that force feeding of the bird?
We talked about that yesterday too.
Fogway.
Foie gras.
Yeah,
maybe that's
the force feeding of duck.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What was the bird in brandy?
But then there's a canary. I think it's a songbird. It's a songbird that they fatten up with grain and then they drown in brandy that you then eat whole.
Under the table,
underneath a cloth. So God doesn't see you.
Because it's so sinful.
God would immediately just...
Like, if people actually thought that, why is every brothel underneath the tablecloth?
That's a good point.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
You just don't want people to see you eat a bird.
Right.
It's just gross to your peers. It's nothing about God watching.
Right. Well, a lot of cultures are like that. I don't know if I told you, but I knew a guy in Bolivia who they often would go into caverns and caves. And like as a culture, they would explore those. And what they would do is when they would go underground, they would actually say a prayer to Satan.
Oh, because it's his domain now.
Because I've heard that domain.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So, and that's just so interesting, and it's like culturally shocking because you're like, you do what?
There's a theory. So the Branson, where I spent a lot of time, has a cave, and it was one of the caves that had the largest amount of bats in there.
Okay.
And they explored it, and it had they described it as hundreds of feet of guano. Oh my God. Because it's been bats that have lived there for the evolutionary history of bats was that cave. Mm-hmm. And they were exploring it, and it's all this sulfur from the guano. So it smells like sulfur. Mm. And then it has the echoing bat noises, so it's making this discordant fall noises. And then they'd say, okay, well, this is a portal to hell. This is weird discordant sounds that we're not making.
Right.
And it smells like sulfur. And so they thought, they were like, okay, then they came up to the edge of this chasm, whatever it is. And they thought, okay, we have to find out how deep this is. And they grabbed large amounts of iron weights and threw them over the edge to listen for when they land. But they land in guano, so they don't make a sound.
Whoa.
They throw it and go, this is a pit to hell. There's no bottom to this. And then they run away. And so it's like this thing that's saying, oh my God, here are all these reasons this is a pit to hell. And so people are like, this is Devil's Cave.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's not. It's just full of bats, which is a weird thing to have happen. But judging by what you've seen, It's a reasonable assumption for you to have. Yeah, this smells like sulfur. I hear sounds, and there's no bottom to it.
And there's like a weird light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's like it's on fire for some reason.
Yeah. What was that big, massive monster that comes out at
Balrog?
Balrog. Okay, you know exactly where I was going. Yeah.
Because Gandalf the White turns into Gandalf. Or Gandalf the Grey turns into Gandalf the White.
Get the spoiler.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Spoiler for a 50-year-old?
A 50-year-old book. Yeah, I think it was 19.
Because Dune was in the 50s. And I think Lord of the Rings was 20 years after that. It's 70s?
I think it was in the 50s or 30s.
I'm going to find. Am I just off?
I think The Hobbit was first.
Oh, that could be. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah,
we have the power of...
Hold that shit up, Jamie.
We have the power of the internet.
Yeah,
and for once, we can determine when it was written. Except your network in here sucks.
Oh, you got to connect to quantum
54 for Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Yeah.
And so The Hobbit must have been...
See, I thought it was a prequel.
Yeah. I think it's a prequel as a movie, but The Hobbit,
as a book is an actual.
That's
37.
37!
Yeah.
What the fuck?
So it's closer to 100 than 50 years. Wow.
Can you imagine being a person just alive in 37, not let alone
think of
how old
you could have read that book 5 years before you went to go fight in World War II.
Yeah. This is how old the Queen is, by the way. Because I love emphasizing this.
Yeah.
The Queen not only was alive when World War II.
She was an active combatant.
She was an active participant in World War
not combatant,
II.
participant.
Yeah. She was a medic. But, I mean, that's insane to me. Because you think about a World War II veteran. And you think, oh my God, they're almost all dead.
They're bedridden, not functioning. From
exactly.
The horrors of the war.
They're all super old. They're about to die,
And meanwhile, Queen of England's kicking it around. Now, you have a thing. Don't mention anything else about the Queen of England.
Why?
Because this twice in your life that you have summoned things by thinking about them.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so
it's happened more than once.
So don't make any comments about her health or how she's doing. She's
nothing.
The queen. She's
but
great.
I'm just saying, compared to Betty White, she's doing great.
Oh yeah, that was the worst one. So January 17th, if it happens, blame Eric.
Oh my God! Long live the Queen is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm going to manifest that.
Good.
Long live the Queen.
I mean, hasn't that already happened though?
I think no, that was Anarchy in the UK.
No, but if you say, I'm talking about old 80s albums.
Sex Pistols album, actually.
Okay, sorry. But I mean, if you say Long Live the Queen, she's done that.
That's good. Yeah.
She should just be able to retire now. Just be out of the public life.
No.
Go. No, I won't allow her. As an American,
no.
I want her to stay there forever.
Okay, imagine this. The Duke of England, right?
I know nothing about the royal structure.
Me neither. But I know that the Queen has a son who is Prince, right?
Who is
Prince Edward?
Has ailing health issues.
Yeah. The Prince looks older than the Queen.
The photo of him in that car.
Yeah. He's on death's door. And this is the most funny thing about that whole system, though, is because as a prince, you're growing up and you're like, oh my God, you're singing Lion King. I can't wait to be king.
I want to be the primary leader of this at some point.
I'm going to be the fucking king.
And then your mom's like, nah.
And then your mom outlives you.
By a significant margin.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mom serves in World War II and then fucking outlives you.
Yeah, I never thought about that too. There's probably a time too where you have young kids.
Yeah.
And you're off in World War II and you're like, what if she gets in a bombing accident?
I might be the youngest king of England.
Yeah, and then
meanwhile
70 years later, psych bitch.
Yeah.
She's driving around.
Oh my God.
That'd be an interesting.
That's insane. It's like Joe Biden. You're gonna be like you're not the leader of
the free world. Yeah, that's what they call the president.
Yeah,
it's the leader of the free world.
Yeah, but if you're the Queen of England, you're not exactly the
leader of Queen of England. You're the figurehead. Figurehead sounds bad. That sounds insulting.
No,
you're the icon of England. There you go.
Yeah, you're the monarchy.
There's nothing else to say but Queen of England, and it's become synonymous with that.
But
entire monarchical idea.
Okay, but it's not like King Henry V, right?
She's not solo enacting policy that affects the global scale.
So those are disjoint. So what is that in American society?
That's a great question.
Are they married?
Are they married?
Yeah. Are they the same thing?
Oh, no, that's what you meant. I thought you meant is the individual person married? And I was like, who are you thinking of now? Yeah. Do they have 14 kids?
Is she taken?
I can't. I'm just asking for a comment. I can't think of a single person who's like that level of. I think as an institution, Hollywood does that.
Yeah, my mind went there too.
I think it's not a single celebrity does it, but the idea of superstars.
Right. Cameron Diaz.
That's a weird first superstar to go to.
Cameron Diaz.
You didn't go to like a
Mike Myers.
Shrek 2. I was gonna say just the cast of Shrek 2.
Donkey.
Shrek. Yeah, there's I can't think of because no individual actress has that sort of control.
Yeah. I
guess I kind of like Disney.
Maybe.
Because they can just kind of go glomp any sort of like competitors.
Glomp is a great word.
Yeah, it is the only way I can think of to just like the flubber. I am Star Wars now. Like there's it just affect policy and public opinion.
Right.
Without directly affecting policy.
Yeah, that's totally Hollywood. Totally Hollywood because they're all like politically minded in that way. They all lean in a certain direction. We won't specify which, but
it could be anything. You could agree
could
with
be anything.
And also there will be an actor that agrees with you, and there will also be one who disagrees with you.
Right.
And there'll be like 50 Scientologists that I will point at the camera and then not say anything about.
Dietetics.
Fiends.
Diuretics.
That's a very different thing.
I'm on diuretics.
All those actors just piss a lot all the time.
Piss off.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why Tom Hanks is always
running.
Sorry, I meant Tom Riddle. I'm going for Tom Cruise, goddammit.
Okay.
I can't get there.
Okay, there we go. I was like, I won't get there.
So you know how sometimes I'll say something like close to what it is, and then your mind can't get there?
Yeah. Now, those of you who have never talked to him personally, if you're trying to remember something, let's say, for example, the person's name is Brad, and you're like, yeah, that one guy who was, what? And he'll be like, Brad. Like, no, that's a bad example.
Byron.
Brandon. He'll say something that's,
and then
Bryce. Like it is impossible. Your normal mental train that is going to get you the right answer derails. And instead you're now trying to do these scatter plot guesses of what the actual name was based off of what he said. And it is impossible to work.
It's almost like when you're bowling and you move the gutters like way close to the center line.
Yeah, but in the middle of the approach. And so you're like, oh shit, and you have to change it. It's never gonna work.
You can't like disrupt the actual pathway to like a solid strike because that's what you're going for. Yeah, we're cutting close. But if you move the gutters close enough to the center, then
they'll bounce and deflect, and then that will cause the ball's own momentum to just fuck everything up.
You move the fuck up way too close to the actual goal that it actually derails you.
Yeah, it bounces
and you can't get back up.
And I've noticed a couple of times now that I think that you're actually saying the right name somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And then glossing over it, which then makes me subconsciously go, okay, so it's not Brad.
Right.
And I think that you've done that before. And I didn't notice it. But I was like, recently was Fred and I were talking about that. And I was like, if he really wants to go for the double blind, he could say the right name. I think he did.
Oh, no. But like, you say the right answer, but with like a face that makes it look like you're,
just a big old
you're fucking around.
Yeah.
They're like, it's not Bryson.
It obviously can't be Brad. Well, them, and just move on.
Yeah, and then you're like, fuck it.
So Bryson? It's cosmic karma that you Tom Cruised yourself.
I didn't Tom Cruise myself.
That was great.
So that's the thing. My brain actually just does that automatically, and I want everyone else to suffer as well.
I will turn this personal failing into a societal thing. Everybody nearby me will experience it at the same time.
Yeah. It's almost like I know what the right, like my subconscious knows what the right answer is, but my conscious mind is like, actually, here's 3 funny things that aren't the right answer.
That you'll fucking think are great.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with like my subconscious for directions and people is like that. Like if somebody goes like, hey, how do you get to so-and-so from here? And I'm like, there's a come and go. And you go a turn there.
You come and then you
go. And then you're there. Yeah, but so you put me in a car, and I'll get there right away. If you want me to vocalize it, can't do it.
Totally.
If it's people also, they show up and they're like, oh, who was that? And I'm like, that's no idea on the name, but it's that person's brother, and their roommate is this person.
Yeah,
and they do this for a living, and I really liked this conversation I had them last year about this.
Yeah.
Okay, what's their name? I have no idea. And it's like, what? Okay, then what else did you talk about them about?
Right.
I also have no idea. But then they show back up and like, oh, hi, Brad. Like, you got it immediately.
Right. As soon as you see their face, you're like, okay, yeah, I could be such.
Which, I mean, a lot of times, like, I know, like, talking again about Magic, it's a hobby where you don't have any interaction with these people outside of the games you play.
Right.
And they'll be like, have you played with like Josh? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And then it's like you come around like, yo, what's up, Josh? And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, weird.
I do know a Josh.
Yeah. You're like, this is the Josh who does this. Yeah, okay. And it's just this entirely, it's an example of an entire social structure that you're just a bullet passing through. You just see one single plane of paper interaction point, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's impossible to extrapolate anything off of that.
And that's the thing about like best friends, right? Like we're also fourth dimensional.
Yeah. That you can start to assume that. I noticed that is whenever I really know how good of a friend I am. Yeah. You can assume something about them that they're either not telling themselves or not aware of. Like take example, Fred. Yeah. Being like, dude, you're totally hyperthyroid. Like that's all the symptoms that you have and the way the eating pattern has. And he's like, no way.
Totally not.
And you start thinking about it and you're like, oh my God, I am. You're like, that's when you really know somebody.
Yeah.
Because you have a full enough picture to start to extrapolate stuff in the middle. And sometimes not having a full picture helps you do that. Right. Because there'll be some data point that he's aware of that makes you think the otherwise that I don't see. So then I just go, no, it's perfect. You fit inside the circle perfectly. Because there's no outliers that I don't see. Which is also how judgments happen that aren't true. Oh my God, I heard he's such a bitch. Like, you talked to him twice. Yeah. And one time he wasn't rude and you thought he was. And one time he was rude, but you were, standing in his way or something. Like, you would think there's definitely a sweet spot you want to hit there.
I never fucking trust when people judge someone harshly like that.
It's the idea of like assumptions.
Yeah.
It's like 95% of the time they're miserable. But if somebody's like, hey, you're going to do this thing and it's going to hurt you. And then you get hurt and you're like, damn. I guess I should have listened there.
Yeah. Well, it's like this though. Like when people talk negatively about somebody just freely.
Yeah.
I find that suspicious.
That's usually an indication of the person doing the sharing.
Exactly.
Rather than the person.
Yeah.
If you get a couple of different people, you're like, hey, so-and-so, and we'll just think of somebody from work.
Right.
That you think that about.
Totally.
Okay. And you're like, hey, so-and-so is like they're just really negative all the time.
Right.
And they're just mean. And you're like, no way.
No.
And then somebody else goes, hey, yeah, they're just in a bad mood, like historically. And you're like, okay, that's the second person who said that. And someone else is like, yeah, I don't really like talking to someone, so they're usually really negative. And you're like, oh.
So there's a pattern.
You're like, this is not just three people. And sometimes you get falsely said that. That's just three people who like to stir the pot. And then two people like to stir the pot and one too trusting person.
Right.
Who's like, hell yeah, I agree also.
Exactly.
So that happens. But
yeah. It's an interesting dance because you have to listen to the consensus, but at the same time, you have to formulate your own opinion about it. It just
comes back to being a scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
You agree with the consensus and then go, but why? I want to prove it. And social consensuses are easy. Hi, so-and-so, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. Oh, cool. Thanks. Nice to see you. How was your weekend? Oh, it's fantastic. Okay, cool. Bye.
Exactly.
Oh, they're not an asshole. That was easy. And then if it's, anything more grounded and anything, about particle physics or something, that's not going to happen so easily.
Not. And the earth is flat.
If you want to think the earth is flat, you are more than entitled to be wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what. There was a consensus.
Yeah, for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. Not only was there a consensus that the earth was flat and everything revolved around it, you would go be murdered for disagreeing with the consensus.
Exactly.
So it actively squashed the idea of saying, hey, maybe it's not, because the earth is stars and they move not in a way that would say centralized rotation. Right. Yeah. They move separately. I can go draw these and they go, which? And you go, well, those were paintings of something different, and don't kill me. And I will never say another word. You say as they're throwing a rope over. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no. All right, we're at 2:30 right now, which means we are about at the time where we have to go do an isolation tank.
Don't have to. We get to do.
That's right. Yeah, together.
Yeah, one isolation tank holding hands.
One pod.
God, that would be miserable.
Yeah.
Just imagine a double-sized pod. Just every now and again, something like touches you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would be You couldn't pay me to do that. That'd be awful.
You would have to have a swimming pool, and you'd have to be at the other side of a very Olympic-sized
swimming pool. But even so, like them breathing and like making the water ripple.
Yeah,
I'd want to go over a table at them.
Like, oh my god,
could you just fucking die and quit breathing? Jesus, yeah, that'd be miserable.
Well, this is going to be the end of this episode 1. Thank you, Nathan.
Oh, thanks for having me, Eric.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me for episode 1. Let the people know where they can find you.
Where can they find me, Eric?
Yeah.
What programs do you recommend they use?
Let's see. Well, twitch.tv/Mason Rudolph.
Oh, no, I don't think. What's my Twitch name? I think it's Tug Fugly.
Oh, is it?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
They can find you on AIM.
On Google nothing.
Just ask him ASL.
And I'll respond. What?
Yeah. I
have basically no social medias.
Right.
Okay. Never get any. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. I have a Steam account, but that's for friends. That's about it. If you want to talk to me, talk to Eric.
That's a good point.
Download the podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, download the podcast. Thank you. Wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to make your own podcast.
I'm sure you have the old audio splits.
I do.
Yeah, okay.
I'll definitely.
We read it every time. Go ahead and read it now, Eric.
If you want to make your own podcast.
I thought you were just going to splice it in.
Yeah.
I was trying to set it up.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. I've made $3.33.
Hey,
with all ads.
That's straight gain. There's no money you've ever spent on anything.
Definitely not.
Ever.
I haven't spent any amount.
Yours made no sense.
I know. What the fuck?
Your mic was solid. Mine.
Yeah, it's 2 different mics, and it's interesting actually to see the difference between the 2.
We'll find out in the post, but it's definitely better than having like a table mic and having that weird echoey sound that people do. Yeah. You have to like lean way closer to the talk. That'd be miserable.
Well, for episode 1, this has been exciting. It's definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
a little bit. I don't know if it's the rain or the jitters.
It's probably the 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Maybe it's the 600 milligrams of
caffeine. You get 2 of those?
I downed one before you got
that's a 0% blame on the podcast. That's just your own body chemistry.
And it's actually really bad to do before the isolation tank. So,
well, next episode, you'll tell them about how your trip went.
Yeah, we will microdose before.
With caffeine.
Yeah.
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Beep. Beep. Good luck editing that. Was it 2 hours of talking?
2 hours and 1 minute. Well, that was.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. In stream.
I like it.